Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following episode. My name is Colton Brown. Joining me, Mr. Andrew Meadows.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi, man.
And with us, Mr. Henrique Jaime.
Hello.
Back to talk another Marvel movie. The first of 2023.
The first of a new phase, you could say.
Oh, yes, that's also true. The beginning of Phase 5 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Mouthful of a title.
Yeah, it is.
I thought Andrew's intro real quick was a Fat Albert impersonation, but
Wasn't actively trying, but
Okay.
yeah, that's what it kind of was.
That just played off like you were.
Yeah.
It's better that way.
I don't know
Anyway,
what the connection is to this movie, but
I don't know. There's a microscopic reference in the quantum realm, maybe. Who's to
There
say?
you go.
But how's everyone doing on this fine evening?
doing good.
Enrique
brew?
is 1 year older. It's his
1
first
year
day.
wiser.
Oh,
1
that's
year
true.
older. Yeah, happy birthday, dude.
That's true.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's exciting.
One more trip, a little wiser, a little older, knees hurt a little bit more, but maybe I can drink from the same fountain of youth that Paul Rudd has, and just
There we go.
keep like that forever.
Yeah. Is that the fun fact for this episode? Is talking about Paul Rudd's secret to eternal life? Is that where we're going?
Well, I was gonna say the fun
next.
fact is that he's 77 years old.
That's right. That's true.
I watched the funniest thing this morning. I was laying in bed, and we're already getting off in the weeds. I apologize.
It's going to be one of those. Just get ready for it.
He was on Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy Fallon has Paul Rudd on there, and he's sitting there, and they were talking about the men's health magazines between Paul Rudd's men's health magazines and Jonathan Major's men's health magazine covers, and
Hey, one of the two is the sexiest man alive. I'm not gonna say which one,
That's true.
but
That's true.
it was very funny, to say the least. Anyways, I digress.
All right. Well, I feel like we've had some micro fun facts, but do we have any Ant-Man or Paul Rudd fun facts will suffice too if we have even more of them. But any other kind of prepared fun facts for the episode about Ant-Man the Wasp, Quantumania, or anything related to that? From
all
anyone?
right, I got something. Hopefully, I'm not stealing your thunder, but
We'll find out. Let's find out. Bring it on.
if you're so interested, this is not really a spoiler from the movie, but Scott Lang saved the world, as we would know from previous movies. Like any good modern person, he chronicled it in a novel or in a biography, whatever you want to call it, called "Look Out for the Little Guy," that is featured in the movie. And if you go on Amazon right now, you can get yourself a copy at a discounted price of $22.11 for the hardcover edition of Scott Lang's "Look Out for the Little Guy." Pre-order it now. Title to be released on September 5th, 2023.
If
That's
I
right.
buy this on Audible, is it read by Paul Rudd?
See, that is what I wondered, because I don't know. We know that they're doing an ebook edition. We know they're doing like a hardcover, like physical release of it.
I don't see it on Audible for now.
For a fun fact.
Oh, really?
So you have indeed preempted it, but it's okay because it's exceptionally fun. And I don't think there's anything that can top this in terms of fun level. So I'm not even going to try to come up with something better. It's 224 pages. Yeah. So
right?
It's
I'm like,
that
that seems like a real book.
Like I think it is literally a real book. I mean, it's on more than Amazon. I think you can get it through like Barnes and Noble and other bookstores, So I do have the same question though, because I would love to pick up a copy of this if there is a Paul Rudd / Scott Lang narrated audiobook version of this. That would be, I think, the best way to consume this.
One of the reviews or little tags that it has is it introduces the man behind the hero, and the hero I call friend, from Bruce Banner, fellow Avenger.
It would be a very expensive, like recording for a book I would imagine.
I'm sure.
But if you just include it within the film budget, which is already $200+ million or whatever, like it's pretty minimal. I feel like,
drop in the bucket.
Yeah,
exactly. So anyway, I hope that happens. If not, I think I'm going to check this book out. I think it's pretty cool. They're putting out like an official MCU timeline book, I think, later this year as well, which I think will also be good because shit's getting pretty wonky, especially with that 5-year time jump that they had between, or I guess within Endgame, really. That I'm kind of just like, all right, I kind of need that to wrap my head around this. And then maybe 200 pages of theoretically canon, stuff talking about, Scott Lang's adventures and, his upbringing and whatnot. That sounds pretty sick to me. Someone would spend time writing 200+ pages of Scott Lang stuff. I hope it's not like a gag book where there's, like I want a full 200+ pages.
Yeah, if you're going to give 200 pages,
everything is completely serious, that's what I want. So if it's indeed that.
Yeah, for $22,
Scott,
you got to get a real
Scott
book.
Lang, it's supposed to be written by Scott Lang, right?
Yes. So
is Scott Lang, is he capable of writing a serious novel for 220 pages?
Well, it doesn't need to be serious so much as just like an actual, like
from Scott.
I mean, I don't mean it like serious in the terms of the tone. I just mean serious in that it's legitimately
it's a real book.
Sticking to the idea that it's a real book that
by
each
Scott
chapter
Lang.
covers some sort of event in the MCU, etc., from Scott Lang's perspective, or it's about Scott Lang, in some way. Like that's what I want.
Right,
and a legit fucking book.
And I would think I would think Scott can do it because no disrespect to the GOAT, but I have a book by Tim Tebow. That's like a 200-page book, so. He didn't necessarily take English as his major.
Probably had some help with it, would be my guess. But Scott Lang can have some help too. Hope can proofread it.
Yeah, she's probably off doing actual, real important stuff.
Yeah, that's probably true. But anyway, that was indeed my fun fact, as I said. But it's exceptionally fun, and well, maybe I'll pre-order a copy. We'll see. But you can do it. You can do it right now. You listening at home, on a train, on a bus, on a plane, on the floor. On a sidewalk, wherever you are, in the bed, you could pre-order it from wherever you are, using the device that you're listening to this on, probably. So,
that was a paycheck from Marvel Studios, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, for real. We get we get a little cut of the proceeds from our pre-order link. Actually, we probably could set up a monetized pre-order link, like a type thing, but
that's true.
That requires effort, and I don't know if I'm willing to expend it. No. If you want to give us money, just give it to us directly. Patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. Doesn't help you get a Scott Lang book, but it does help us. So, you're helping out the little guy. Us being the little guys. I don't know. Is anyone here over 6 feet tall? I don't think so. We're little guys,
close,
so
close, but
we're knocking on the door, but we're done growing. So we're minus some PIM particles helping us out. We're screwed. So anyway, been week and a half, 2 weeks since we talked about M3.
15 days.
Andrew and I. 15. Has it been that long? Is that true?
I count them every time I count them.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, 2 weeks then, roughly. So some news has broken. We're going to split things. We got headlines. We got top news. A lot of Super Bowl stuff. Mostly, really, is kind of, especially what we'll get to when we get to the top news. It was a sad Super Bowl, except if you're Paul Rudd, in which case it was an excellent Super Bowl. So the one redeeming factor of the Kansas City Chiefs is that Paul Rudd is a fan, and I just adore Paul Rudd. So.
Mahomes is on NFL.
No one's perfect.
I don't need that. I don't want to talk about that. I don't care about that.
He sounded just like Kenny Powers. Yeah, it was so funny. It was so fucking funny. The video I watched overlapped Kenny Powers talking about the fucking Spoon Man coming to his place. Yeah, we got the audio. What did he say? He had fucking Spoon Man over at his place playing music, and it was fucking rad. Yeah, it was. God damn it! It was so funny.
All right. Well,
That was a tangent. Another tangent. Okay. Sorry.
Let's begin with some headlines. We'll do a brief pause between them, and I'll give you guys a quick window to say things, but we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on these unless you feel the need to. So just going down the line, starting with some Disney stuff, a couple Disney things, actually. First of which is, I think there was some sort of corporate call or something like that, where new Disney CEO Bob Iger, because he ousted the other Bob, as you may recall, earnings call is what it was. An earnings call announced that there are some sequels that will be in the works for some very popular Disney franchises, including Toy Story, Frozen, and Zootopia. So obviously some of these we've gotten many sequels to, aka Toy Story, one sequel, and Frozen, and Zootopia I think is getting a series on Disney Plus, but has not had a sequel feature film or anything like that. So those are three, at least, that we know we're going to get more installments in, which I think for Toy Story, I think is kind of interesting because it kind of felt like that was a franchise that had closed the door once, came back,
twice,
kind of seemed like it closed the door again. Whereas I think the other two have a little bit more, opportunities to expand in terms of the storytelling potential. So yeah. Any thoughts on Toy Story, Frozen, Zootopia sequels? Does that excite you? Does that appeal to either of you?
Yeah, no, this makes sense. Like, they're popular, they make money, and most of them are pretty good. So, and I don't know, maybe this is not Toy Story 5. This might be, I don't know if is
Lightyear 2.
Yeah, Lightyear 2 or some other kind of
Probably
spin-off thing. I don't know.
That one wasn't that one wasn't a success. They don't like to talk
That's
about
true,
that one
that's
anymore.
true.
It's off to the
box
side.
office
Shunted off to
success.
the side.
But yeah, it makes sense.
Man, just I am in the camp of let's get some
New
fresh
stuff?
yeah,
New IPs?
new fresh things, right?
Well,
But
we'll be getting some of those this year as well, and I'm sure that this isn't to the exclusion of doing new stuff, but I guess it's, you got cash cows, keep them going, sort of thing. Maybe is the thinking.
that's it. They make money. I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it seems like there's so much like regurgitation and using the same stuff over and over and over again lately. It's just I take more new stuff. But anyways,
Yeah,
I
sure.
think that's valid. It's valid. So the next headline is kind of interesting. It's kind of a two-parter here. Really, the first part is that a Hollywood Reporter article came out, and basically it's sourcing conversations with Bob Iger, who, again, has recently taken over as CEO, and basically the new thinking with Disney is that they're going to be rethinking how they output their franchises, which is to say, it sounds like they're going to slow down on certain things in terms of release dates, spacing things out in terms of greenlighting, everything. Like, it seems they're going to be a little bit more maybe choosy about how they do certain things. And so at some point, maybe even starting this year, we may see kind of that take shape. And so one example where it really seems like it's going to happen is that just as recently as Andrew and I talked about all those Disney Plus Marvel shows coming in 2023, it sounds like a lot of those are not going to be released in 2023 anymore. They're going to be pushed out to later years to kind of space the content out, so it's not just a flood of, I guess you could argue, mediocre to, solid enough TV shows, idea of maybe slowing down, focusing more on quality instead of quantity, etc. So shows like Agatha, Coven of Chaos, maybe Echo, Ironheart, the Ironheart spinoff. It sounds like those are maybe not going to happen in 2023 anymore. They're still filming them or have filmed them, but it just seems like I guess they're slowing down in terms of how they put things out. And then on the film side of things, there may be more spaced out projects as well. And so one thing that has happened is that the Marvels has been delayed from July to November of this year. November 10th is the new release date. They did put out a new teaser poster for it, showing off Carol Danvers back as Captain Marvel alongside Kamala Khan as Miss Marvel, and then Tiana Paris as Monica Rambeau, and like a presumably photon costume, I think is I assume what they'll end up calling her. So that basically means that obviously we had Ant-Man. We're talking about it now. We'll be talking about it shortly anyway. Came out in February. We'll be getting Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in May, and then now instead of a gap of July to the end of the year being no feature films, it'll now be from May to November. November will kind of mark the last feature film for Marvel this year. So it's a little bit more spaced out throughout the year. Part of it, I think Blade was originally supposed to come out later in the year, and then that kind of devolved in terms of the production process and led to them kind of having to shuffle certain dates around. So either way, it kind of spaces it out, and it seems like it's in line with kind of this thinking of let's not just put a million things out every week. Let's not Netflix it, is maybe what they're thinking in terms of shove out mediocre content on every week so that there's always something new for someone. Maybe it's okay to give fewer new things if they're better new things, or if there's more time to work on those new things. Like, obviously, VFX and Marvel is like a conversation piece right now where maybe the projects aren't up to snuff in certain ways. And so this might give, the teams working on the Marvels, extra 5 months or 4 months, to work on things. That's not a bad thing. Even if things are in good shape, that's not a bad thing. More time's not necessarily a bad thing.
It took James Cameron 30 years for Avatar.
You the same place. You give him a decade. He produces one of the most beautiful things ever. You know what I mean?
So maybe you don't need to wait that long, but a little bit of time.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that might be excessive. You might lose your market if you wait that long. But
apparently anyway, not for James Cameron.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, maybe that is the fucking secret.
Right,
just really
wait forever.
Every decade to make $2 billion. Why doesn't everyone do that?
I'll take a Billy every decade.
Instead of making 500, every 6 months, you can just make a couple Billy every couple years.
Seriously, that's a pretty good strategy. It's worked out so far. We'll see if Avatar 3's. The thing is, it's going to be 2 years after Avatar 2, so it won't be as successful. I think we're going to see that waiting a decade really was the right call. But anyway, any thoughts on this in terms of this kind of new thinking of how Disney is going to operate moving forward?
This is all a result of the change of the
Mr. Iger
the
coming
CEO,
back,
right?
I think it's Bob Iger taking over and probably looking at the financials from the Bob Chapek era and thinking, we got to do things a little bit differently, probably.
I know
that would be my guess.
I know that the new Bob, which is the old Bob,
the new Bob is the old Bob.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes,
exactly.
The new Bob's the old Bob, and I know that when this Bob came back, he said that the Bob that took place in the interim was too
he's an anti-animation Bob, right?
Well, yeah, he's an anti-animation Bob. That's correct.
Yeah,
that's the middle Bob, not the old Bob or the new Bob. He was the middle Bob.
Right.
The middle Bob, right? He also said that middle Bob was too, I guess, PC or too like involved in like political stuff. We're just here to, and then he came in and said, we're going to focus on content. We're going to focus on stories and everything else, and we're not necessarily like focused on political change. He said that in an investor meeting. I remember reading that whenever he took charge. So it's interesting to see that these projects are being delayed and spread out. So it makes me question on whether or not it's a financial thing or whether or not it's a political thing or what the focus is. Because there was a lot going on there whenever he took back over from Middle Bob.
Yeah. One pseudo exception, it sounds like, is they're still trying to get Star Wars going pretty good because it's been a while since we've had a feature film and we have like 9 in development. And so it does seem like they still want some of those to go forward and obviously to kind of keep the shows at a pretty at the current pace, which is
it seems reasonable.
Not crazy, not like Marvel. You know what I mean? You get a couple animated shows a year and you get 2 live action shows maybe. Like that seems to be a pace that they're willing to sustain as far as the Star Wars stuff goes. So yeah.
Right.
So anyway.
Yeah, I'm normally not a fan of delays, but I think this actually makes a whole lot of sense. I feel like there's just so much stuff. Like we can keep up with it, but I wonder how many other people are keeping up with this. And I just want good stuff. Right. Ultimately, if you need a little bit more time to do that, I'm willing to wait for a better product.
Yep, I concur all around. And I'm looking forward to the Marvels, whether it's July or November. I think having the stuff spaced out, we know that we'll have some Disney Plus shows this year. We know that we'll have at least a Loki, at least a Secret Invasion, and probably maybe still sounds like 1 or 2 other shows, whether they're live action or animated, plus the Star Wars stuff to kind of fill the gaps. We'll be fine. We'll be fine in terms of Marvel stuff, even with this delay. And the poster, pretty cool. It's my phone wallpaper now. I think
it sounds cool. Like he thinks that Marvel and Marvel has made a career off of being like these products being crescendos, right? Happens at the beginning, happens at blockbuster time. You know what I mean? And so let's capitalize on these big products versus mundane, quick return kind of deals. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right. Moving on to the next headline: Spider-Man Noir getting a live action series over at Amazon as part of the Amazon Prime Video and like Sony partnership that we would have talked about at least a little bit a while back. They previously announced they were working on a Silk TV show as far as in this partnership, and now we're getting a Spider-Man Noir live action series. It's going to follow an older, grizzled superhero in 1930s New York City. It'll be a standalone universe that this takes place in, and it will not feature Peter Parker in any way, it sounds like. So it's going to be written, executive produced by Oren Uziel, who worked on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
And recent credits include The Lost City, screenplay for that, writing credits on 22 Jump Street, Mortal Kombat, The Cloverfield Paradox, and then the upcoming scripts for John Wick 4 and Borderlands, the Borderlands game movie. So Spider-Man Noir. We're apparently not getting more of them in fucking Across the Spider-Verse for some reason. Nick Cage says they didn't ask him to come back, but we're going to get a live action version of them. So
is it going to be Nick Cage?
I think that would be cool.
I mean, if you bring in Nick Cage, that gets me a lot more interested.
I think he's already played the character well.
Right.
There's no reason he couldn't do it in terms of the physicality. Yeah. I mean, he's kind of old, but like it says they want an older grizzled superhero. That's Nicolas Cage. Yeah. He's older and grizzled. Perfect.
Right. I don't know. Could work. Could be but it's also Sony.
It could be a Sony thing.
It could be. Yeah. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who's producing the movie? The Nick Cage vampire movie. Is that Sony?
More vampire.
I think it. I don't. Renfield. I assume it's Universal, but I actually don't know. But I can check. We can check that. That's what we have the internet for. I think, and it is indeed Universal. So it is not Sony.
Okay.
To that point. But anyway, other thoughts on Spider-Man Noir? Kind of wait and see approach on that one, maybe?
Wait and see approach.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It's weird.
It's interesting.
But it could be. It's potential.
Could be something.
I like Spider-Man Noir, but
right?
They can go bad real fast. you never know with Sony.
Yep. All right. How about this next headline? Out of nowhere, Starz is working on a revival of Spartacus.
A revival?
That's wild. That's
a revival, which is to say a sequel series to the original Spartacus series.
Does that even
work? They'll be bringing back... I don't know.
It depends. Is it still Spartacus based on the character Spartacus? Because, the Gods of the Arena, that was a prequel, right?
Yeah, that was the prequel, right?
Yeah. That was great, and that did involve Spartacus for obvious reasons. But, something like that, I'd be down for it. Seems weird to bring back Spartacus.
I just don't know about Starz. They've let me down in big ways.
How they handled American Gods? Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah. I just
but isn't Starz is doing Party Down, right? Because they did the original and then bring it back. Party Down is now on Starz.
They did, yeah. I think that's Starz, isn't it?
So
yep, they're bringing that. I think it's like a little 6.
They've got a lot of good stuff. I mean, Spartacus is one of them.
Yeah, Spartacus. I mean, I will say I never finished Spartacus. I will say to my own shame.
It was a good ending. I think season 1 is the best, but.
Yeah, I think I watched all but the final season, and it wasn't because I disliked it in any way or anything like that. It just didn't get around to it, kind of thing. But that first season, rough start, got great. Prequel was like better than the first season, and then that second season, obviously, they had the recast of Spartacus because of Andy Whitfield's cancer diagnosis, and so it kind of had that sort of obstacle to overcome of like how do you recast your lead and be successful. But I think it was good. It still ended up being a pretty good show, and by all accounts, that final season, War of the Damned, was pretty good too, from what I understand. I know enough about history to wonder how the hell this is going to work as a Spartacus.
That's the thing.
Sequel series. I I mean, I think maybe it's just a sequel series that happens to take place in the world of Spartacus. This world of Spartacus.
I could do that.
Or we're getting weird with it. It's one or the other. I kind of think.
Yeah. So,
it's Stephen S. the Knight coming back. He was the original showrunner for it. So it's described as a new chapter in the aftermath of the events of the series. I won't say exactly what happened. That will depict a new tale of treachery, deceit, and blood unfolding beneath the foreboding shadow of Rome. And it says it will feature characters from the original series, but no specifics in place yet. So
it's going to be released
that could make sense
alongside Gladiator 2, which makes a whole
pretty much.
That's true.
There'll be a lot of synergy there. It'll be great. So I don't know. This is another one. I think it could work, I guess, but I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. Any other thoughts on that for you?
Just like make another Roman like thing. Like why?
Well, maybe that's what this is, and it's just the same universe, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's what I'm wondering.
We'll see.
Spartacus is going to go kill all the Norse people.
Yeah.
That's the show I'm waiting for.
Vikings? Is that what you mean? Vikings? Well, I guess it's not really. It's sort of.
It's kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of, right? All right. Well, I don't want to cut you off.
With the
Say what
Spartan.
you're saying. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, I see. I get it now. I see what you're selling. All right. Another interesting headline. Another maybe sort of weird one.
One.
All right. It's a choice. And it's our final headline before we get to the top news. How to Train Your Dragon is receiving a live action adaptation. It has already been dated for March 14th of 2025. It's coming from Universal. Fully in development. Casting is underway. It's bringing back the director of the original animated trilogy to write, direct, and produce it. So that's kind of a neat wrinkle of bringing the same director from the animated trilogy to the live action format. It's obviously a very popular franchise, a lot of animated spinoffs, and well, I guess they're all animated, but animated spinoffs, books and stuff like that. Incredible sand technology, as Andrew and I have discussed ad nauseum at this point. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to take this successful animated thing and let it make the jump to the live action setting, I think. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this can work in live action?
I guess, but why is my biggest question.
Right. Is it? Well, I guess it's the same reason the Disney's doing all of them, right? As
for money.
More money.
Universal says, hey, dude, you know that thing that you animated a trilogy of? We're going to do it again.
It's the same thing, like all the video game remasters and remakes. It's like people like a thing, we'll just put out the same thing again.
But at least for video games, that makes some sense. Like we got this new technology, blah blah blah. And it's like,
well, this one looks
the first
great. One
like,
and use the How to Train Your Dragon 3 technology for remaking the first one. I think that might piss people off more.
Instead of putting these people in computers, we're going to step it up. We're gonna have real people in there instead.
Do it for
I want to see the mocap person of them doing the toothless dance. The like kind of dance that Toothless does. I want to see the mocap person do that.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, is it going to be like darker, like grittier, or the dragon? Like, is Toothless going to look like?
He's going to actually murder people. I say realistic,
but is he going to be like a more realistic, dragon, or a more generic fantasy?
Is this like Game
dragon?
of Thrones?
Yeah. We're going to see some Game of Thrones dragons in the How to Train Your Dragon verse. I don't know.
It's weird. Is John Krasinski the dad?
Weird.
Or I guess the main character then becomes a dad, like older.
Yeah, you get to play the dad with the fucking pirate leg.
I don't know. It's interesting, right? It's certainly interesting. There's certainly a way to do it. The Hollywood Reporter article mentions, like, if this is successful, would they then move on to translating other things, such
like
as Shrek? Anyone? And I for one would love to see a Shrek live action monstrosity.
Only if it's Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy.
Holy shit!
Man, that would be
So I think,
incredible.
at least from the way this article is written from the Hollywood Reporter, I would say they share the same question, but why?
They're like, do we need this? Is this necessary? I mean,
Necessary, no.
but
it's unclear
maybe-
whether in success Universal would seek to translate other DreamWorks. Oh fuck me.
That's right.
all right. Well, anyway, we'll see what happens.
Don't
with,
care.
How to Train Your Dragon and maybe other Universal live action adaptations in 2025 and beyond. So there you have it for the headlines. And now let's talk about very briefly, I guess, some Super Bowl stuff. Right. So the Super Bowl happened for those of us
Eagles
in
won.
Philadelphia.
They blocked the last minute field goal, and then they actually ran it
they
back.
won.
They gave it away.
They won by some
fucking-
negative amount, which is to say that they lost, and they really did. I mean, that second half was absolutely brutal.
Homeboy, my homies didn't. He couldn't even fucking walk at the end of the
This
second
motherfucker's
quarter.
running on one leg. He's got. I mean, come on.
What's
it was
going
bad.
on?
It was rough. It was.
Oh,
Yeah, if you get enough, steroidal and
that's the question.
a little
What did they
oxy.
allow? Like,
You
surely
get so much
whatever they
shit.
gave him.
I mean,
get
it's
so
a
much
Super
shit.
Bowl. They'll give him
What's the-
whatever.
What's
Yeah.
the line for PEDs for football, right? Because he can't fucking walk at the end of the second quarter.
No,
He
you
comes
get
out-
some you get some Batman Bane juice, looking like Rob Pattinson at the end.
That's
Just
what
pretty
it
much,
is.
yeah.
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 I mean, props to Mahomes.
It worked.
but like, holy shit.
Yeah. No, it was
It's amazing.
an impressive defensive collapse. I guess simultaneous with obviously the Chiefs' offense just clicking as it tends to do. So there were no celebrations in Philadelphia that night. There were no poles being climbed.
There were a few
no-
people on Broad Street apparently.
Yeah, it's true. There were people out there, but it was pretty muted and kind
Yeah.
of just like, oh, this is kind of sad mostly. No horse poop being consumed, that sort of thing.
No.
One car flipped in Temple by people that don't actually go to Temple, I'll say. So
Bastards.
don't do that. You get arrested. You get arrested for that sort of thing. Don't do it. So Super Bowl brought us, commercials. We got Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul coming out of Breaking Bad retirement for a little Breaking Bad spin on popcorn.
That was one of my favorites.
My favorite one was the Budweiser, or the Bud Light. The Bud Light, when they put them on hold, they had Miles Teller dancing to the hold music.
Oh, yep, that
No.
was a good one.
I like that one a lot.
Ben Affleck running a Dunkin' drive-through. Having way more fun there than he was at the Grammys with J-Lo. If anyone saw those videos where he just looked absolutely fucking miserable.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Ben Affleck. He can't
escape
avoid
it.
it.
You can't escape it.
Nothing beats the fucking cutout, though. Surely it doesn't beat the cutout.
We got Ma and Yaz taking over M&M's. Some
yeah.
Maya Rudolph, the ad campaign that they had, some other good stuff in there, right? But we also, of course, got some Super Bowl TV spots for upcoming films later this year, and we got a lot of full trailers. So we'll hold off on the full trailers because we'll talk about those kind of independently. But of the TV spots that we got a little one previewing Creed 3, which is right around the corner, beginning of March. Michael B. Jordan versus Jonathan Majors, the two most jacked individuals I think that I can think of, going at it in the ring. Excited for that. We got a new look at Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Watching
Doing all right there, Andrew?
I'm watching Ben Affleck.
Okay.
I'm watching entertainment tonight, and they do this zoom, but they rotate the camera while they're zooming in on his face, and he just looks fucking. He doesn't look with it. He does not look like he's having a good time. I'm sorry. I exited. I apologize again.
Oh, no worries. Indy's punching Nazis, it seems, or at least getting into tussles with Nazis, played by Mads Mikkelsen. Another look at Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, and what do you know? It doesn't look any better. Fast X, we got a spot. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Scream 6. Oh, we got a Super Mario Bros. Plumbing commercial. Did you guys remember this? Did you guys see this one?
I did not see
I
that.
did. I think I do.
Where it's it's not like a trailer for the movie. It's like an ad for them, like their plumbing company kind of thing. So it's pretty fun, pretty good stuff. There was a Transformers and Porsche
Oh yeah,
Porsche.
I was like, I was like,
had,
is this a
that it was
Transformers or a Porsche commercial?
both. The answer
Porsche.
is both, but mostly just a car commercial. So that was kind of it in terms of the TV. Like the non ones, the ones that didn't get trailers. I guess we'll see.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was like, there's some.
So of those, any thoughts or anything?
I just like the Breaking Bad one. It was just so
was good.
spot on. And then what's his name? Tuco. He's like, tight.
Oh,
tight.
right. Yeah, he came
It's
back.
like,
Yep.
we got 6 flavors. 7. You bring me 7.
It's pretty good. It was quite good. All right, so should we talk about the big trailers that we did get?
Yeah.
The
Big
which
game trailers.
All of these did get TV spots that aired during the game, and then there's just fuller versions of these that are online that either came out a little bit before the game or around the game or the same day kind of thing. So we'll begin with more Ben Affleck. Okay. This is another one like Guy Ritchie's The Covenant that we didn't talk about on our 2023 Look Ahead episode, but it's a movie called Air, directed by Ben Affleck, starring Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, Viola Davis. It's I guess it's kind of the story of getting Nike recruiting, I guess, Michael Jordan for the Air Jordans kind of thing. So what'd you guys think about this one? Full trailer for this one.
I think it looks like a really interesting kind of like bio kind of deal, I mean, I don't know the story of that. And I think that I think it's got a wildly talented cast.
Right. Who else? Jason Bateman's in it.
Yeah.
Chris Tucker.
Yep.
Chris Tucker outside
Chris
of Rush
Tucker
Hour.
playing.
I mean, what are we doing?
Chris Tucker's playing a young Michael Jordan.
Is he?
Oh yeah. Well, that's very convincing.
No. I mean, this could be interesting. My first reaction was like, is Matt Damon starring in a like Air Jordan movie? Like that just, I don't know. That just seems weird, but I guess it's like the Nike execs.
Yeah.
I don't.
Right.
It's
And it
just
would make
something.
sense
It's
that
just
a bunch of
strange
white
that
people running Nike.
right.
So.
It's just strange to focus. I'm sure that's what the story is, but like focusing from the executive business side of it, which we've had Michael Jordan movies and stuff, but I don't know. I feel like maybe there's more to the story there, like Viola Davis's character.
I think that, especially coming from Ben Affleck, I think he's directed compelling movies before.
Oh
right?
yeah,
yeah. So
he
I
won
think
the Oscar.
I think he's going to treat something as culturally important as Air Jordans.
Jordans, yeah.
I think he's probably going to treat. I think he's probably going to do a very good job. I mean, I'm interested to see the movie, at least to develop an opinion about it, because I mean, it's going to be a culturally important movie. I mean, they are a big deal. So, interested to see it.
Yeah. There's apparently a ESPN 30 for 30 about the Matt Damon character that came out in 2015. So this is the narrative version of that. So yeah, I mean it looks kind of interesting. I'm curious to see how it does. Good cast overall, and it could be an interesting story that, agreeing with Andrew, I know really nothing about. So it will be coming to theaters April 5th, 2023. I think it's also an Amazon movie.
That's soon.
So yep. Right, just another month plus basically. So yeah, and then at some point later in the year, I think it'll come to Amazon. But it sounds like they're giving this a pretty good theatrical window. So don't wait a week and expect it to pop up, kind of thing. So yeah, that's Air. The remaining three, I think, are a little more blockbustery, a little bit more bombastic. And the first one, The End of the Road, begins. And Fast X, Fast 10, one of the final chapters before the end of the road ends.
So I got this trailer. In the Super Bowl. Thought it was pretty funny there. I also got this trailer.
Did you get it in front of Ant-Man?
I did, and because we got there really early. I was a beer and a half in. I hadn't eaten much of anything all day. In the trailers, and Man, it just hit my fucking funny bone. I'm all about it. I'm excited about it. It looks totally fucking ridiculous. Much like, the past couple of them
As
have.
it should. As it should.
Right.
So yeah. Enrique, you are at least 1 or 2 films behind in Fast and Furious.
Yeah, I'm not caught up. I think I'm still on the 8th one of Fast, whatever it's called.
All right. Well, so this one comes out May 19th, so you've got a few months.
Okay, I got time.
To do some catching up to make it.
Yeah,
for this,
I think I have all the films that Pops and Shaw. So, but I don't know. I have these. They're just getting more and more ridiculous.
I don't know if they can top the Fiero in space. That
I was gonna say they went to space last time, right?
I feel like this is almost scaling it back relative.
Well,
to
I feel
that,
like I feel like next you could do the opposite and go like underwater, but like really underwater, like Mariana's
like
Trench kind of thing,
like
James Cameron, or you just go so fast you fucking DeLorean it and you go back in time. They go back to the first. They go back and they save. I don't remember her name, but Gal Gadot's character.
Oh yeah, they could do that
in that movie, and then bring her back, and that's how she makes it into the future movies.
Or they go back and they save Jesse, the kid that got shot up in that Volkswagen.
Oh yeah, he's movie. Like when things were realistic and people stayed dead or whatever.
There you go.
When it was about street racing back in the day.
Well, they're going to bring it back to the street racing, you know.
Yeah, well,
that's what I got from the trailer.
Right. That's what you need.
Absurd fucking movie. Looks.
I mean,
yeah.
Did the kid from the Tokyo Drift ever make it back into the series?
He did.
He did.
Wait till he gets F9. He's got a roll
shit.
Spoilers, dude.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
He did not look good. He had aged since Tokyo Drift, but he's certainly in it. This one, like I said, coming out May 19th. The end of the road will begin in it. We got Vin Diesel back, obviously, Michelle Rodriguez, Tyrese Gibson, Ludacris, Jason Momoa playing the baddie. This one's like a Fast Five sequel of sorts because he's his villainy is related to the events of that film. Natalie Emmanuel, Jordana Brewster, John Cena, Jason Statham, Sung Kang, and then some newcomers: Ellen Richardson, Charlie. Oh no, she's been in that.
Brie Larson.
Brie Larson is a big newcomer, I think, and Rita Moreno. She's playing the grandma of Dom. She was in the beginning of the trailer. Good stuff. But Charlize Theron, their hair finally looks somewhat respectable for the first time in the franchise. So good on them for doing right by her. So yeah.
Who's the big name British actress that's in the series now?
Oh well, Helen Mirren's in it.
Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
She plays Jason Statham's mother. So yeah. So I think she's in both Hobbs and Shaw and one or the other. Maybe
it gets fucking bonkers,
8?
Dude. Like you just dropped off. Like I struggled to get to the point where you were at. But once you kind of like
you get there,
once you get there, dude, it's totally worth it. It gets
well. You basically stopped when Paul Walker.
Not on purpose, but
right?
yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
exactly.
but yeah, it does kind of take on a different thing because The Rock drifts away from the franchise into his own spinoff, land because of his shit fit with Vin Diesel and stuff.
Right.
So I mean, it really does become the Vin Diesel kind of thing, at a certain point. Like it's the Vin Diesel show, like for better or for worse. Sometimes for
to
worse.
Him, that's the only thing quite like it, really. So.
It's true. I mean, it's just what you're getting with these movies, and if each one kind of throws a new wrinkle, whether it's space or magnets or whatever. It gives you a little new flair each time, even though the movie is kind of generally the same thing and just as outlandish and ridiculous as it should be. But you're either in for it or you're not. It's kind of how I feel about the Fast franchise at this point. So it's going to have ebbs and flows. Obviously, some movies are going to be better than others, but as long as it's fun, you're having a good time, that's what you're there for, I hope. So that's Fast X. Next up, big movie for WB, The Flash, the movie that they refused to can, despite Ezra Miller's many legal troubles and just generally problematic behavior. They are still in this. They are in this twice, actually. There are two.
I was like, there are
Allens.
two Ezra Millers in this. Oh shit! They could
That's why
not.
they
They
couldn't
could not
replace
just
his
replace
ass.
them. They couldn't just replace them.
So we're getting the Flash. It's coming out, I believe, June 16th, and we've got the full official trailer for it. Our first look at it. And it brings it seems like it's bringing in a lot of the old DCEU elements, and then also throwing in a healthy dash of some new ones. So we see a Ben Affleck Batman. We see Michael Shannon back as Zod in a seemingly pretty prominent role, which is kind of interesting. And then, of course, Michael Keaton is back as Batman too. We have a new Kara Zor-El, a new Supergirl. So lots going on in here. What do you guys think? I mean, I think WB, Andrew and I talked about their whole Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters thing that they're going to be doing starting next year. But this is kind of, it seems like the big way that they get to that point.
Break the universe.
Some timey-wimey universe breaking sort of stuff, perhaps. But as a film, I mean, Ezra Miller, maybe that, maybe their inclusion impacts your enjoyment of this film, but based on the trailer, how are you feeling about it now?
I'd be lying if I said the trailer didn't get me excited.
Yeah.
It's hard to get over Ezra, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like they say they're trying to get better and do things, but I'm like, we'll kind of wait and see on that one, because you did some pretty fucked up things. But the trailer got me pretty excited. I'm not gonna lie. Like the Michael Keaton Batman, that was probably a big deal.
I think
just seeing him back.
That's the big thing. That's where I'm like, okay.
Like I was just like, like that's
my reservations.
That
I have to put them to the side because
that just seems fun.
Cool. Yeah.
And honestly, I thought Zod was the best part, probably of Man of Steel. So bringing him back is actually made me a little bit excited. I'm like, wow, did I enjoy the Snyderverse?
He's not just playing a corpse that gets turned into Doomsday this time, so that's cool too.
That's true, yeah. It's a little better because he's Zod. So it's interesting. I think we're talking about this as some big shoes to fill, or some high expectations, because they're like, this is the movie. Like whatever happens, like this is so good. Like we have to keep this movie, so it better be good. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Or they really just need it to explain the continuity moving forward, and they're just like, there's just no way that we can not really release this movie and still have that pseudo hard reset. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Andrew, what do you think? You excited for the Flash?
Yeah, it got me excited for a couple of different reasons. Michael Keaton looks really cool. I like how it kind of shows that like Barry Allen's kind of. It seems to me like he's actively erasing or responsible for like the deletion of everything,
which is usually the case.
Fond of, you know what I mean?
He's trying to do things for himself, and in turn, he breaks the universe. Right,
but in doing so, it's a universe that I don't particularly care for.
Good, so destroy this universe, prune it.
What's really cool though is there's a sequence here where there's somebody underground. I think it's Supergirl.
Mm-hmm.
She's like locked up.
Well, they're keeping her from the sun, I assume.
Yeah.
Right.
And I want to say that's something that I've seen this before with a super. I don't know if it was Superman or Supergirl.
Well, they do that to Superman, yeah.
When did they do that to Superman?
I think it's in Flashpoint.
It's the Flashpoint, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it
like
Flashpoint?
There's no Superman because they have him locked up, and he's like small,
super
Superman.
skinny.
Yeah, he's like really skinny. Yeah, I think that's the Flashpoint.
Is that Flashpoint?
I know they did like an animated movie of it.
I know that
run is great. That's probably one of my favorite.
Obviously, DC there's a comics run, but I know that they did an animated movie, so maybe you would have seen that.
Maybe that's what it was. But they're using Supergirl here. It looks like
right.
Anyways,
a little different. One more reason to not use Henry Cavill in the DC universe. So.
Flash is a really, really, really cool character. If this is a way for WB to like, we can't get rid of this because this is what this is our bookmarker and ending what we've started. Then I kind of get it. We'll see what we get. It looks like we have a pretty compelling, crazy kind of wonky movie going on here. And we'll see if they stick the landing, I guess, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think unlike a lot of other DC movies where usually from the trailer you kind of get the sense, I don't think this is going to be a whole lot to expect with this one. This one does genuinely feel different in a certain sort of way, in that it looks good. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you know, it's not even a wait and see like kind of thing. It's like, no, I think this actually does look pretty compelling. It's got a lot of really interesting aspects that they're playing with. It seems like it's well shot. Yeah, it's got Ezra Miller in it twice. That's not great, but you know, at a certain point, there's not much you can do there.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I think were it not for the whole Batgirl, you know, saga, we wouldn't really be batting an eye at this movie really coming out and having kind of the push that it's had. I think it's just the juxtaposition of those two events of, you know, you can can the minority led one. You know, even if that was a worse film and it was a lower budget film, whatever, like, I kind of get it. It's just the optics of it are not good, and there's no way to get around them being bad. So this better be a really good fucking film. Otherwise, a lot of egg on the face, I think, is kind of the end result. But it does look pretty good. It does look pretty good. So from where I'm standing right now, I can understand the desire. As far as I can tell, for them to really be riding high on this one, as high as they have been anyway. So we'll see what happens with The Flash in June. And before that, we will be seeing one final ride with the Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, May 5th, coming to theaters. We have a new trailer for it. This is our final piece of news for the episode. A little bit of Marvel synergy kind of thing. James Gunn, before he jumps on over to DC full time. He wrote and directed this movie here, bringing back the Guardians team, introducing some new faces. An Adam Warlock, a Cosmo, and a High Evolutionary. Basically new Gamora, more or less, right? What do you guys think? What do we think about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? Are your heartstrings ready?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready.
For sure.
I don't know if I'm ready. That Rocket stuff, you see the High Evolutionary like messing with Rocket, and I'm like, little baby Rocket. How can they do that to baby Rocket? No, this looks really good. And I feel like James Gunn is on a roll right now. Like, between the first two Guardians, I really enjoyed both of them. I think first one's probably better, but I really enjoyed the second one. And Suicide Squad. Is it the Suicide Squad or Suicide Squad?
The Suicide Squad.
The Suicide
at least
Squad.
In my opinion, that's the good one.
Was quite good.
Minds could differ. Yep.
And Peacemaker was really good, actually. Like, I feel like James Gunn is on a roll, and clearly, you know, his talent is valued where they got him being the runner over at DC. So I have high hopes for this, and I think I'd like to have a conclusion to a story, so I'm pretty excited to see how this ends. Yeah.
Andrew, what do you think?
Oh,
excited?
Same boat. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Guardians fan all through and through. And I don't know how you end the Guardians, but however you do end the Guardians, it's probably going to be pretty bitter. I don't even think bittersweet's the word. I think it's going to be pretty fucking heavy and pretty brutal. I don't see it. I don't see you ending the Guardians of the universe in a very pleasant way. And
I will say their costumes look amazing.
We've got some more comics accurate.
The look
looks, yeah,
which is
cool.
It looks great.
Yeah, I think what I will say is, I do think visually this film looks very impressive. And obviously, we're not talking about Ant-Man yet, but I do think that this kind of feels
a little bit higher quality, I think, overall. And I don't know if that's just, again, reliance on physical sets, you know, kind of an Andor versus a Boba Fett or a Kenobi kind of comparison where, you know, using physical sets versus, digital sets is you know, you can kind of tell the difference kind of thing. But I think it looks really impressive. I think more than that, I think just the colors
really, really pop in this trailer. Like you can really see there's segments in this movie where, it's very deliberately like they have like colored jumpsuits. There's also like this place that almost has like a principally white background with splashes of color throughout, which looks like really visually interesting. James Gunn, I do think that he's really developed his craft. I mean, yes, obviously, as you guys said, getting him to the stage of being one of the guys at DC is incredibly impressive. But it does seem like he is just getting better and better in terms of just his confidence in making these projects. And I think that, I'm just excited to see him with this one last thing. I'm excited to see his DC stuff. I think it's going to be really interesting and a different kind of flair and flavor for DC moving forward. But this feels like classic Guardians, but, classic in the same way of just, being going to be emotionally taxing. And it's going to be a hard watch, I feel like, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited.
I think that's the best part about the Guardians movies, right? You get all this emotionality at the same time. It's
very heartfelt, emotional, and it's just genuine, and it's just, in some ways, they just kind of hit different than I think, standard MCU stuff, which I think a lot of standard MCU stuff is very enjoyable, but not really trying to go to those emotional places, whereas I do think something like Guardians has really tried to go there, I think, and I think Volume 2 especially went there in some places, and Volume 1 had a lot of just really emotional moments too, even though that was our introduction to all these characters. So, round 3 is going to be Volume 3. It's going to be
you get a new
something.
You get a new awesome mixtape too.
That's true.
The first 2 are great.
They're expanding the scope of the time period because of the Zune. So we'll get some more modern stuff in there theoretically, or at least pre that Zune.
You used to have a Zune.
I think I might still have one lying around somewhere.
Do you
actually.
Really? Wow!
I think so. I think I got a Zune HD rolling around somewhere. But I did have one of the classic thick boys. I had one of those too at some point. So good stuff.
Those costumes. Those costumes look so good.
I'll accept any and all Zune jokes because I loved my Zune, but also it was kind of a joke. To be fair, so fair enough. So,
man,
do you think Jonathan Majors ends the
Guardians?
Like, is he like
less likely? I see this being a little bit more separate from the main MCU plot.
I think so. I think we got a taste of Kang. We'll talk about that shortly. I think we'll sidestep that for at least a movie or two, perhaps. So yeah, I think the High Evolutionary is going to be enough of a threat. Maybe Adam Warlock will be enough of a threat too. Right. So yeah, May 5th, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The next, as of now, the next dated entry in the MCU. We'll see if we get any TV shows before then, but I don't think we have anything officially on the books as of yet. So for now, we got to wait. A few months, a little less, but yeah. So that brings us to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. You can catch it in theaters right now, or you can not watch it at all. Those are your choices. It was written by Jeff Loveness. Well, if you follow Rotten Tomatoes, maybe you would elect to not watch it. I don't know. But anyway, written by Jeff Loveness, directed by Peyton Reed. I put Peyton Rudd on the script. That's not right.
Peyton Rudd.
It's Peyton Reed. I was doing it in a hurry, okay, is what I'll say. It stars Paul Rudd, the ageless and timeless and lovely man Paul Rudd, alongside Evangeline Lilly, Jonathan Majors, Catherine Newton, Bill Murray, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Michael Douglas. In Quantumania, Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne are transported to the quantum realm along with their family, where they face Kang the Conqueror.
I am Kang! That's my favorite quote in the fucking movie. He was fucking intense. Cannot beat me. I am Kang! Oh, man, I just fucking...
I like it.
It's almost like the equivalent of fucking, this is Sparta kind of yell. You know what I mean?
This is Sparta. Yeah.
So I didn't actually put it on the script, but I think we need a box office breakdown.
Oh.
I mean...
Yes.
That's what I think anyway. So I'm going to do it. That's what I'm going to do. Can I get some help?
Box office break... Wait. Wah, 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 wah.
Box office breakdown.
Yes, obviously Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. It's the second MCU film with a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes, following Eternals.
Yikes.
And it had a B cinema score, which is not great, but it did pretty well. So there's that. And its opening weekend, at least, it brought in $106 million, which is a franchise best, easily surpassing both Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Wow.
And it technically opened on a holiday weekend of President's Day, and I think it brought in about $120 million for the 4-day weekend, which is pretty good. And it's also a February release, which, your Black Panthers aside, is traditionally not a juggernaut in terms of the box office. So it's a very impressive debut, I think, for Ant-Man. Domestically, I think internationally has been somewhat disappointing. It's brought in an additional $129 million on the international side. So it's pretty evenly split between North American territories versus literally everywhere else in the world. So worldwide stands at $257 million worldwide. Film was budgeted at about $200 million is what it's quoted as. So I think it's kind of a wait and see in terms of how successful it actually is. What legs it has. Is there going to be a negative reaction to it that's going to kill some legs and eradicate some of its box office potential? But we'll see how it plays. We'll see. I think it's a good start. You want to ask for a good start, and you've got that here. So, and some things are just like, some things just play well in spite of other, factors that maybe seem to work against it. So we'll see what happens with Ant-Man, but I think it's a good start regardless. So yes, I say all the Rotten Tomatoes and blah, blah, blah stuff to kind of set the stage of, all right, so I think expectations for the three of us walking in before reviews broke, I think was fairly high. Would that be a fair assessment of things? I feel like we were all looking forward to this, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Sure.
So we had good expectations. Reviews maybe dampened some of them, perhaps. I'm not sure. Henrique, I think you usually stay away from that.
I usually am pretty good, but I kind of just came across some things. I think it was just that it's unexpected, so it just kind of gets out there a little bit more. Yeah.
So I guess I'll just pose it as an open question, and then say whatever you want about Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. But do you think that the reviews were right? Do you agree? I mean, really, it was kind of a split. I think more negative than positive, but it does seem to be. No one seems to think it's amazing, but some are quite negative, more so than others. So where, I guess, on the spectrum do you guys fall? Do you think that it deserves kind of the overall negative reception that it's gotten? Do you think it's a little better than that? Do you think it's amazing? Like, where do you guys stand?
I'm actually curious to hear what Andrew says, because we watched the movie together on opening Friday night.
We have somewhat of an idea of how we felt about it from talking with each other off air.
Okay, so these are my thoughts on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So I saw this in Dolby 2D, because I've only got one eye, can't see 3D, and I will say that the 3D effects look like they would have been very much present, and
we didn't see it in 3D either, even though we are capable of such things.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel like they don't have Dolby 3D. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it is a thing, but I don't think that the theater that we go to in Philly is equipped for it, because I don't think they ever.
This looked like it would have been an awesome 3D
screen.
movie, is what I think.
Okay.
Looked like it would have been. It would have taken. You can just tell like how things are layered.
Just the environments
in
and stuff. I think. Could really pop and benefit from it. I could see that. Yeah.
But I will say that some of it. I don't know how much of it needs to go into spoilers, but some of it was. There's some CG in here that looks. I couldn't help but fucking just laugh. Like it just and it almost
purposely laugh, or like laughing maybe on purpose, or just like laughing maybe not for the best reasons.
You can't really tell, right? Because the movie itself, and Ant-Man as a franchise has always been kind of self-aware, and so when something kind of takes shit, when something looks a particular way, and the characters in the movie react the same way that you're reacting to seeing a particular thing look as grotesque and just kind of look bad in general. Like it's like, okay, were they like kind of like leaning into this, like they knew that this was what this was going to look like on the silver screen, you know? And it's a question, right? Did you intend for it to look this way? Because there are things that just really just, I mean, they're questionable. I mean, they're questionable at most. I mean, at best, I think they're questionable at best. And if you are leaning into it, then it's kind of like a whole new meta, right? Like you're just leaning into like art design and CG and stuff. So it's an interesting discussion because being the budget what it is and being the studio that it's coming from with the track history they have of making incredible looking movies, for this to come out and looking the way it does, it makes me ask, was this a creative decision? Because some of it looks questionable. So
I guess if you're talking about one particular character, then I guess
I'm talking about a couple of different characters.
Okay.
A couple of different characters in particular.
How about the movie as a whole?
The movie as a whole, I think it kind of felt like it was kind of, I don't know, it felt kind of like hodgepodged a little bit. It just, I don't think it flowed together particularly well. The pacing, that's what I'm getting at. The pacing seemed a little bit of an issue, but I think overall I had fun with the movie. I was constantly laughing. I think it was a fun movie. It did not take itself seriously, which was good. And the juxtaposition with a very serious villain, probably one of the most compelling villains that we've had in a Marvel movie, at least in like recent memory. Jonathan Majors as Kang is fucking killing it. Like he showed up to work. I think he'll continue to show up to work. He showed up to work in Loki. He showed up to work here. His character as Kang, as a time traveling conqueror, it's very evident in this movie. Even though you have all this fucking madness and wonkiness going on, like it's kind of like I talked about it with Guardians just a little while ago. Guardians is always like it's lighthearted. At the same time, it's some of the most heartfelt movies in the MCU, right? But it's got some of the best comedy. This has, I'm not going to say it's got the best comedy in the MCU or anything else, but it's a lighthearted movie. But you do have a very menacing fucking character in here that is just kind of peppered in. And it I don't know, it's kind of wonky, right? Just kind of seems almost a little bit out of place, a little bit. But Jonathan Majors did show up to work. Overall, I think that this is it's a pretty okay way to start the year, and it's a pretty okay way to start the phase too, right? If this is the beginning of the phase, it's a good way to set the foot forward as far as creating like a major villain arc. I think it's probably gonna go places. So I am going to be showing up to see where it goes because I think we've got something here.
Okay.
So long-winded version. That's my answer.
All right, Henrique, what did you think about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania?
So, I see a lot of the sentiments of where Andrew's coming from, and sometimes when I'm trying to give someone like an evaluation or feedback, there's a lot of different strategies that we'll use. There's like the sandwich method where you like put the positive and then the negative and then the positive again to kind of make it very palatable, or you highlight the positives first and then deal with the negative. So I'll probably do a little bit of that. So I think starting off with the positives is I enjoyed most of the film. I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I generally had a fun time. I think it has a lot to do with the cast. Like you said, Jonathan Majors was great in this. Like, you can't hate Paul Rudd. If you hate Paul Rudd, I would agree with your statement, Colton, that you're just no good. You're no good.
Just not a trustworthy fellow.
No, you can't like someone who doesn't like Paul Rudd. Like that's crazy. But generally, everybody else, I really enjoyed Michelle Pfeiffer in this film. Thought she played off of Kang very interestingly. Yeah, no, big role. And generally enjoyed a lot of the film. I thought the humor was pretty good. And I think some of the things that I enjoyed less so in the film ultimately probably boiled down, I think, to the writing of the film. And that's something that I wish was a little bit better. I think there are some elements of the CG that I don't even know if it's the CG. Like, I don't think there was a problem with the CGI, whereas there are in some of the other Marvel films, especially there's like a couple sequences in Black Widow. I think that become infamous now, just like looking real wonky. Yeah. But I didn't necessarily thought that it was on that level. It's just kind of the whole feel of the quantum verse, the microverse, quantum realm. It just kind of feels strange. It's like very intangible, which I get. It's like, shrunk down to beyond a microscopic level, but it's just kind of hard. It gives me a little bit of Obi-Wan vibes.
It feels digital, I think.
Yeah, the digital. That's a good way.
It doesn't feel like a real world or feel real environment. It looks and feels digital.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, as a whole, there's a couple story beats I want to get into, but a lot of things I enjoyed, things that I wish were better. And I think just because we had high expectations, this is the start of Phase 5. This is the big time introduction of Kang. I was probably hoping for a little bit more. So in some ways, a little bit disappointed that it wasn't a better film, but were the critics right? I think yes and no. I don't think this is a terrible film. This is not the worst Marvel film, in my opinion, but it's also definitely not the best. It's kind of, to me, somewhere probably in the middle, ultimately.
It's definitely not Eternals. I think saying it's Eternals is...
Well, I think it's even better than, some of the Iron Man 2s, Incredible Hulks, those kind of films.
Yeah, totally. Right.
I would agree with that. I don't really agree that Eternals got the negative reviews in the way that it did.
Right, it's a little
personally,
much,
even though it also is a somewhat messy film. I don't know. It just to me, it's still
Iron Man 3 is pretty fucking bad
from the worst of the MCU. So
that's a pretty divisive one.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I think I agree with both of you in many ways. Before I watched this one, I actually rewatched the first Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp, which is like probably the first time I would have watched either of those films since we did our whole run through of the MCU before Infinity War. So it's been several years. So, I think that the Ant-Man movies have always been kind of a pleasant, almost like palate cleanser of what came before. Like I think Age of Ultron, immediately preceded the first Ant-Man, and then Infinity War immediately preceded Ant-Man and the Wasp. So it's kind of like you get these big fucking team-up movies, and then something like Infinity War, where obviously you have such a holy shit ending, and then Ant-Man and the Wasp takes place before all of that, and then links up in the mid-credits. Like, I don't know, like they've always been like fun, humorous codas almost to the MCU, where like, Paul Rudd is charming as all hell, and Ant-Man's a fun character, and he's got a fun supporting cast and everything. And so that's all well and good. And this almost feels like a concerted effort in the way that maybe like a Thor Ragnarok was like, all right, we got to reinvent things a little bit. It's not so much that they're reinventing the character. Like, you can't reinvent Paul Rudd. There's no need to, obviously. But the franchise almost like they're giving it a little bit more of a revitalization in the sense that it's like, you know what? Ant-Man's not going to face off against business people anymore. He's going off against like the biggest bad, the new Thanos, basically. Yeah. Like right off the gate, we're going to chuck, the smallest hero, who is kind of just a humorous kind of guy, against a stoic, serious, mean motherfucker, and we'll see what happens. And I do think that that's a really interesting kind of premise. And I do think that it works out to somewhat mixed results in the sense that it doesn't feel like the other movies in the franchise. I think to its detriment in the sense that it loses a little bit of some of the flavors that I think really made those first Ant-Man movies interesting. The supporting cast is like totally different. Like you don't get his, the ex-cons. There's no Michael Pena, and I think that was a little disappointing.
Yeah, it was hugely disappointing.
Cassie is aged up and has been recast after she was already recast from for Endgame, and that's it's a little wonky. But there's also like no Judy Greer, no Bobby Cannavale. Like it really feels really detached from a lot of the supporting characters that were interesting to see in those Ant-Man movies. And like it's always cool to see Ant-Man and the Wasp pop up in like the team up movies, but it was nice to have those Ant-Man movies as like that corner of the universe where you have these characters. And I think that it loses something in basically having the whole movie take place away from the usual Ant-Man settings. It makes it feel a little bit different. That said, although I think it loses a step in terms of doing that, I think that the best aspects of this film are the Kang aspects, right? Of yes, Jonathan Majors being incredible and having even more to chew on than just that one episode of Loki that we've seen him in. Like here, he's full on the Conqueror, and he's awesome. I think the design of the character is really cool, a great translation from the comics. The personality, the motivations, just everything about him is just fucking cool and badass and like menacing, like genuinely menacing. And I think he's a really, really great villain, and I think that it's interesting to see him go up against Ant-Man and company. So yeah, I mean, even though it loses a little bit of step, I think, from its predecessors in terms of just kind of the tone and feel, I do think that it using this new setting and new kind of feel to it. I don't know. I enjoyed it. Maybe I'll just say that I enjoyed it overall. I do think that it's maybe not as funny in some ways as some of the other ones in the Ant-Man franchise, but I do think it's generally pretty funny overall. I think it's a very enjoyable ride. I do think it's kind of, I mean, the writing is inconsistent in some ways in that it just feels like it speeds along pretty quickly through a lot of things, and I feel like it could have handled things differently to more interesting effect. But I liked the exploration of the quantum realm. I liked seeing new, weird, fucked up looking characters and stuff like that. Like that was kind of fun. It's got a very Star Wars-y, Guardians of the Galaxy kind of aesthetic to it, I think, which is really different from that. But I do agree that like the quantum realm has this digital sheen to everything, and it's not like The Hobbit or something like that where it looks really bad, but none of it looks genuinely convincing or real. And like there are certain characters, a character particularly, that like I'm not sure that there was any way to make that character look believable or not fucking ridiculous.
And I'm honestly
grotesque.
okay with that.
And I'm okay with that. I agree with that. I think he kind of fits right into the general aesthetic of this movie, which is to say that I don't think the visual design of everything is great. I think color-wise, a lot of the stuff kind of, like, especially when it's like characters fighting, I kind of felt like the characters kind of blended into the backgrounds in a lot of ways, and it was hard to track certain movements and stuff. And I think that just the overall visual language of it, for me, it's less really the VFX themselves, which I don't think are terrible. I don't think they're bad. They're not Avatar, okay, but I think they are, as you said, Henrique, I think they're better than like some of the more egregious moments in the MCU, and I think that's because everything kind of almost has this samey look to it, and that everything is like a passing grade on the VFX scale. None of it's astounding, none of it's great, but it all is kind of on a passing scale, and so it's fine. It all kind of looks the same, and that baseline is okay. It's okay. It looks okay. You get used to it, kind of thing.
I think you can only do so much with truly virtual effects.
Yes.
Like, without that mix of the practical, which like you look at Avatar, like they use a lot of practical effects too. Like sure, like that movie is so CGI heavy, but there's a great blend of practical with visual effects too that just make it look amazing. Yeah. So I just don't know. I just don't know if they had that here.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of a Star Wars prequelitis of over reliance on digital effects. To kind of not have to rely on practical sets that kind of help make things look more authentic, make things look a little bit more real, and it is what it is. I mean, it's for the MCU, it's not a crazy thing. They've done this with other movies, and I think it looks fine. It never really bothered me. But I do think that this one particularly, like the MCU, gets a lot of flack, I think, for its general aesthetics not being the most well shot movies, and I think this one is a pretty good poster child for just being okay, purely in terms of visual design, in terms of production design. It's not going to win any end of year awards for me in that front. Is what I'll say right now.
To bring it full circle, maybe they benefit from a little bit more gestation. You know what I mean?
Right. Maybe another a few months in the cooker could help with something like that. I agree. So. I'm not sure it would have made a huge difference here, but maybe it could have.
But maybe it's listen, let's make this, instead of having this whole thing on like on a blue screen or whatever. Maybe we
let's build it up.
Just build a set. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you use that time up front more than later necessarily.
Right.
Yeah,
if you're going from the beginning, but like you say, Andrew, like when you think of like cinematography and visuals of a movie, you're like, can I take some stills of this and just blow it up and put it on my wall? I don't know if there's any in particular that I can think of in this one that make me want to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, I agree. It's just, I think a lot of the visual language is just kind of samey, and that works against it. Even in that Guardians trailer that we talked about, you could already see different planets.
It stands out. That stands out.
Really very visually distinct from each other, and also like independently
art style,
interesting to look at.
Yeah.
I just think the art direction maybe a little more inspired there than it was here, which is what it is. It's I had fun with it. I enjoyed it. I think it's better than the reviews would indicate, is kind of how I feel about it, while also still being an imperfect film. There's a lot to like in it. The characters are likable. The plot is interesting enough. The way that things play out, it's pretty interesting and it's fun. And at the end of the day, it's a fun movie. It's not quite a Fast and Furious in terms of like you're expecting the ridiculous, but it's not far off the mark in terms of just like, if you go into this movie like maybe lowered expectations, or just expect to have fun in this kind of 2-hour romp kind of thing. It's not universe changing necessarily, but you do get that introduction to someone that you're going to be seeing in the MCU, perhaps in multiple incarnations, as is typical of Kang. It's cool. I think it's a nice proper introduction to the character of Kang. So, and it's just nice to spend time with Paul Rudd, Scott Lang, But I
guess in response to a lot of those reviews, I think Rolling Stone and some other people are just saying kind of like, is the MCU losing its magic? Has it lost its magic? And I guess like you've gotten to come, like, I feel like we expect now like a certain level of whether it comes from the storytelling, the effects, the looks and everything. And I feel that the reviews probably aren't just about this film, and it's a lot about the MCU as a whole. There's a lot of like, where's this going?
Yeah.
Are we getting that high level? And I think in some ways some people are right to question it, because I think you look back at like phase 3 and we're getting just like banger after banger.
That's true. I think we were spoiled.
Which maybe you're spoiled, yeah. But I think you get used to that. Like the MCU has shown us what they can do. So when you're not bringing that every time, or at least like most of the time.
Compare this with the first one. Compare this with the first Ant-Man. The first Ant-Man was incredibly creative. It was
exactly creative.
Humorous. It was
this loses a step in terms of creativity, even compared to I think the first Ant-Man, which I think is also true of Ant-Man and the Wasp. So
it's true. It's a steady decline in that, but it's wild to think that it's less creative. And
the one just kind of based in San Francisco. It's like it's a smaller
going
scale,
to a completely like different thing, So if you're going to the quantum realm and it feels uninspired, it's kind of it's pretty disappointing. Because
what I will say, I think one of the joys of that first Ant-Man movie, the third act takes place in Cassie's bedroom.
Yeah.
You have a huge set piece on the Thomas the Tank Engine set. And you really were messing with scale in such a way, and they, the macro photography that they used, when he was in the bathtub,
it's really interesting.
when he has the suit on, like the way that they shot all that felt really novel and interesting and unique. And I think the problem is when you put everything in the quantum realm,
it's like what is that?
everything's kind of the same. Like, you know, like
Right.
I even wondered. I'm like, all right, well, if you think about it, like I don't really know exactly how it works because you know it's a realm outside of time and space or whatever
Right.
the fuck that means. Like they're getting really really small to get there in the first place, so they're already really really small.
Right.
So are they even going to have the suit capabilities when they're
To go
inside
even
the quantum
smaller.
realm? Then the answer is yes. They still have the
Right,
you know they
right.
can
And they
get small,
try
they can
to.
get big. You know,
They and well, I mean, and it belongs in the spoilers probably, but there's an attempt to make something of, you know, that scale, but
Yes.
it doesn't.
but
it
it's not
doesn't-
as exciting because it's I don't know. It's first of all we've seen it already, I guess, in a certain sort of way. But I think that you lose. Like, I don't know, like you losing out on the novelty because even in Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's like, oh, we're going to throw a Pez dispenser and then throw the little disc at it that turns into a giant Pez dispenser and it knocks a guy off a motorcycle.
Yeah,
Here
or when they
it's like-
shrunk the whole building and then
Yeah,
Hank
you
Pym
shrink
just
a
carries
building.
around
Oh,
the whole building.
That's nuts.
as a suitcase.
You know, first one has the tank on the keychain and the
Yeah.
you know big tank
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
jumps comes out of the building. Like this here, even though they're changing sizes and it's cool and it's like an interesting thing and they're going big and smashing shit like Godzilla style. Like okay, that's kind of fun. But it's nothing that we haven't seen before already in some incarnation of some whether it's literally Ant-Man himself or the Wasp or whatever. Like none of it really feels all that unique anymore. And I think that's part of the problem is you lose out on the charm almost of the scale of you know how Ant-Man relates to his particular setting or how everything kind of plays together. And I think that this movie also it doesn't have like I will say ants are pretty prominent as it turns out, but
it's
not in the
funny.
same way.
Yeah.
And not in the same way that I think we've seen with some of the other ones. Like again, you lose that. Like he's not really riding around as much on ants, and he's not naming Antony and Antonio Banderas and you know and all these kind of things. Like it. I think that by putting it in this setting, which is kind of an interesting and new setting, you do again lose a lot of the aspects that made those Ant-Man movies Ant-Man, and so that cuts against it. I think in some ways, it's replaced with cool stuff, with interesting stuff, but it loses the stuff.
I think
in
it's
some
a
ways,
lot.
too.
I think it's just a mist. I think it's a either a lack of understanding of the character or just. I think it's just a misstep, right? Like you just don't because they do talk about ants at a particular point. You know what I mean? It's awesome.
Ants.
You know, but he could have like you can just develop
Ant-Man.
just dive on the
Exactly. One of the best ads of all time, by the way. Go look it up. Ant-Man.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, that but that's
We didn't get an ad like that for this. What's up with that?
no,
See?
this
right
felt
there it tells
like
you they didn't know what to do.
Well, they did have
really-
that Sprite ad, wasn't it? The Super Bowl.
Oh, and there was a Heineken
Sprite.
one where he's
Oh, the
drinking
Heineken,
the
yeah,
alcohol.
zero alcohol. That I kind of enjoyed.
Yeah.
I just
Not as iconic.
I think that this movie served as a pedestal for Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, I agree.
It's you could have called it Ant-Man meets
Kang.
You could have called this
Ant-Man.
You could have called this Quantumania. You could have called this Kang the Conqueror Quantumania. It is an Ant-Man film in that it is about Ant-Man and it kind of uses him and his and Wasp and Janet and Hank as its kind of characters, but there's not
It doesn't
there's
feel
not
like
a whole lot that really happens with those characters to really move them along in terms of plot arcs, in terms of character arcs. It's really about setting up Kang as a threat, establishing future threats for the MCU, perhaps, and there's a little bit here and there,
and that's evident
but-
from the fucking beginning and in bookcases of the movie. The sequence where you
But
introduced to
even
Scott Lang
that-
and where he leaves with Scott Lang, they end and begin the same way.
That's true. But even that, honestly, I had some issues with too, particularly the ending bookend. I thought.
We'll talk about it. I guess
we'll
in
get there.
spoilers.
We'll get there. So anyway, yeah, I probably rambled enough, but I had thoughts. I guess whatever. Sue me. Don't actually do that. I don't want to deal with that. It's not.
Okay, you're a lawyer.
I don't want to deal with it. I really don't want to deal with
Is that a challenge? That sounded like a challenge.
So why don't we do a recommendation? Okay, does that sound like a good time to do it? So we've now shifted to our back to our old theatrical scheme
Before
of
the dark
recommendation
days.
Before the dark days. And so our tiers are: go see it in theaters, buy it, watch it on 4K Blu-ray, wait for streaming, or wait for someone to pay you to watch it. So where does it fit in? Does it fit nicely into one of those categories for you guys? What do you think?
That's a tough one, honestly.
I think this is and I can't speak for the 3D. That's the big thing. Because you can experience 3D in an IMAX theater very differently than you can experience at home, if you can even experience at home at all. Because the technology at home is I feel like it's probably not even present anymore, but
yeah, not really. I don't think they
So-
really release things in the format. So
Exactly. So you either see it in 3D in theaters or you don't see it at all in 3D. But because I did not see it in 3D, I can't speak of it. So seeing that I saw it how I saw it, I would say that this movie is I'd probably say this is a 4K Blu-ray for me,
yeah, okay.
is what I would say.
Now, if we had to, it's almost interesting because I feel like this would have fit cleanly in our nice old scale, which was our TV scale. So we God, I guess we can just keep doing that if we need to.
Well, no, it's okay because I mean our metric is good. It's a tried and true metric. I think
I'm just I'm so used to the other one. I'm just like
invalidated.
oh, that's hard. It's hard to go back almost in some ways, but I think it's because this one is I don't know. Well, Henrique, let me.
Do you spend money on this movie? Do you spend more money on this movie to experience it out in a theater because
Right.
of
Yeah.
the experience, or do you spend less amount of money to add it to your?
I think it's a little tough.
It's true. I guess
because
it's
of Disney
based on
Plus.
how much you're paying, more or less.
Yeah, but I think the Disney Plus of it makes it tough because I think if people don't watch this in theaters, a lot of them are going to go wait for Disney Plus kind of thing.
Right.
So it's
But
almost
if
like
you watch it on
one of
Disney
those
Plus,
two.
you're watching it compressed.
Yeah, but like most people, frankly, most
you
people
don't care enough
about
to see
that.
it and the highest kind of quality possible, right? That's part
I feel
part
like
of it. It's
90
like I don't care, and like I don't have a reason to care enough to watch it. in a
People
higher
watch
quality.
it on their phones, so I don't know that people really care about quality when it comes down to it. At least most
Speedboat in
people.
a bathtub.
But I think you can get a decent streaming on Disney Plus. They have the IMAX expanded, format now, so I think it's decent. So I don't know. It's tough because I feel like it's in between. I'm like, I watched it in theaters. I enjoyed watching it in theaters, but I don't know if I can tell everyone like you need to go watch this in theaters.
Would you spend additional money in addition to the? Would you spend additional money in addition to the money that you're already spending for your streaming service to acquire this film?
I mean, maybe I would because I'm me,
You're
but
vested, right?
yeah. But even then, I don't buy most MCU films on 4K anymore. I just watch them on streaming.
I don't buy a lot of content either, to be honest with
So
you.
I don't know. I guess that's a
scaled back
long-winded
myself.
answer.
Maybe our scale
this
doesn't
might-
work anymore.
This might be
You
like
got to rethink it. Maybe COVID just broke things. Like I don't like
that might be
our
yeah.
expectations.
This might be
are
a streaming
fucked up
one,
now.
but only because streaming's gotten so much more advanced.
like
and
if you don't watch it
accessible.
in theaters, like streaming is the next step almost. Like
Yeah, I think especially for Disney
owning
Plus,
it
right? It's like the
is a
HBO
dying
Max
medium.
thing.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah.
why don't we say? Should we just get rid of the 4K? What should we merge the 4K Blu-ray / streaming?
Get it, watch it at home.
So it's a 3-tiered
way.
thing. It's good enough to go see it in theaters, pay the money to see it in theaters,
so you get one
or
of these. It's like
or you just or it's a middle ground where you just you wait. Whether if the way you consume things is physical media, you exclusively buy physical media. You'll spend the $25 for a 4K. Which is probably more than a theater ticket, but whatever. You get multiple viewings out of it. It offers a different value. You get to watch it from the comfort of your own home, or you prefer to just do streaming things. You know this will go up on Disney Plus in a few months, so you're keen to wait for that and pay the $8 or whatever a month. I mean, at the same time, if you watch this for 12 months straight on Disney Plus and you paid for every one of those months, value-wise, you'd be better off buying the 4K Blu-ray. Particularly unless you're watching a bunch of Mandalorian and stuff, then maybe that argument's moot. But on the other hand, maybe that's the middle ground, right? Is all of those kind of things together. Watching it from the comfort of your own home, you might enjoy it, but you don't need to rush to the theaters for it. That's kind of the middle tier, right? And then the very bottom of the tier is, this is bad enough that not only should you not spend any additional money on it, someone must give you the money to waste your time with it, which is harsh. But we've seen movies.
Some films fall in that category.
Fit the bill.
Yeah,
it's possible for things to be that bad. So yeah, why don't we say that? So it's a 3-tiered scale.
Theaters,
so,
home.
With that said,
somebody's got to pay to watch it.
I don't even remember what you said, Andrew. I think you said 4K. So
I said 4K. So I'm just watching it.
Yeah, so you'd stick with that middle tier kind of thing.
I would be tickled pink if they released this in 2 formats, theater and at home. And I knew that I couldn't go to theaters and watch it in 3D, so I just watched it at home. I streamed it on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm. You would have been content with that, you think?
I would have been.
You wouldn't have regretted not going to the theaters, is what you're saying.
No, I wouldn't have. I would have been I would have been happier, to be honest with you. Because I got to drive all the way to fucking Brandon to see a Dolby movie.
Right.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Got to go out of your way for it.
Yeah. Would have been happy.
Fair enough.
Now, ask me about Dune. Yeah, I'm going to drive to the theater to see fucking Dune. I'm not going to watch it.
Fucking worth. It's worth the trip. It's worth the experience.
Exactly. So,
Intriguing.
And you get to watch it earlier, right? It's like in today's world, like you have to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's the theater.
That's the trade-off, right? Do you need to see it right now in the best format possible? Is it good enough to justify that, or can you wait a little while and enjoy it? You know, a more subpar format, but more comfortable setting, perhaps. Don't have to worry about people around you other than the people you might live with, or invite over or break in, that sort of thing. Hopefully not that. That would be bad. But all right. Anyway, that was a long-winded. It's Ant-Man breaking in to steal some shit because he's a thief, you know. Anyway, that was a long-winded way of figuring out this ranking scale, but I feel really good about it. So with all that said, Enrique, where does it slot in for you now?
All right, with that
tier,
in context,
middle tier, but the bottom tier.
With that in context, I will say, like watch this at home. I enjoyed my theater experience, but I can't convince everyone else to rush out and go watch this knowing that it's going to be available for streaming. So I'll say, if you wish to wait for it at home, that seems reasonable. I
will co-sign with both of you and say this is a good watch at home kind of movie. I don't regret seeing it in theaters. I enjoyed it. I may even see it again. We'll see. I have A-list, so it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? So I think there's enough spectacle to it that I think seeing it in theaters is worthwhile, especially if you're invested in the MCU, if you're invested in Kang. I do think for general audiences, this is probably going to be less appealing, though. In general, Ant-Man's not as much of a popular character, and Kang is kind of a relatively unknown character. And I think most people could find some enjoyment level out of this, but it doesn't seem like the general consensus is like, I love this, or strong critics are wrong sort of vibes, that everyone's just kind of like, it's fine, or it's good enough. And I think that it's probably a cut above that for me. We don't do this. It's like a 6.5 out of 10 kind of movie for me, like roughly around there kind of thing.
New scale.
Like, that's how I feel about it. Yeah, new scale out of 10. Oh my God. I enjoyed it. I think it's good. It's got some good aspects in it. I think it's a little bit messy. But I had fun with it, and I might see it again. It's only 2 hours. It's not too fucking long. A lot of movies these days are so fucking long. It don't need to be that long.
We've gone out of the way.
This movie probably could have been for another 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and could have been fine. Didn't need it necessarily, but I think that more than anything, I think really what this film needed was just a little bit more room and a little bit more time in the cooker, not only effects wise, but I think just really working on character arcs and kind of figuring out where things are going from here. I think could have used some work. There's something I want to talk about in spoilers, particularly, which I
Okay.
think is kind of an interesting thing that people have talked about on the internet. So it's not an original thought of mine or anything like that, but it's one that I agree with, and I think that it's maybe worth talking about. So we'll get to that momentarily, but that's where I stand. Watch it at home. See it in theaters if you fucking feel like it. You do you, live your life. But I think in terms of just purely the quality of the film, that's what I would recommend. Is you could comfortably watch this at home and not feel like you're missing out. Too much. So. With all of that said, full spoilers for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So, obviously, there's a lot to cover here, such as MODOK. But before we jump back to that conversation and actually talk about it without fear of spoiling things, the one thing that I will say is a lot of people have pointed out that the trailer almost did a better job of giving a plot than the film itself did, in the sense that the trailer really seemed to set up this idea that Scott and Kang might come to a deal so that Kang could give him more time with Cassie, because he missed out on 5 years of her life because of being stuck in the quantum realm.
That shit wasn't present, right?
Yeah, that really wasn't the motivation.
No, that was not in the movie.
Motivation was, I'm going to kill your daughter if you don't do what I ask you to do. And it's like, that's a pretty standard villainy thing. And I understand why Scott would absolutely do what Kang is asking him to do, because he loves Cassie and he wants to save Cassie, and I think that's all well and good. But I think this idea that Scott is tempted almost,
it was more interesting.
Even if he knows that Kang is villainous, the fact that he might personally feel like, especially because this movie starts with him and Cassie almost at odds with each other a little bit. But she's like, you're just a big head, celebrity, and you're not helping people, and I want to help people, and you don't know anything about me. And it's like, because he missed a chunk of her life. He missed a chunk of her life because he was imprisoned, and then he missed a chunk of his life, because he was stuck in the quantum realm for at least. I assume he wasn't stuck in the quantum realm for literally 5 years. He was stuck in for some period of time, and then it just happened to be 5 years, and the MCU timeline or whatever. But that's a totally cool and understandable motivation of why Scott might be tempted to help him out. And maybe at the end he'd be like, you know what, I am a good guy after all. I'm not going to do that. You're clearly an asshole, and I can't let you escape, the quantum realm and conquer things and conquer worlds and kill billions of people and destroy, universes and stuff like that. Like even if that would be good for me, to have those years back, I can't in good conscience do that. That's a really interesting thing that really wasn't here.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping they'd do.
That's a big one. It's huge, really. I also think that there's zero time shenanigans in this movie at all, and the person that is stuck in the quantum realm is a guy that's supposed to be fucking with all sorts of timelines.
Yeah, I don't really quite understand the quantum realm still. It's just like it exists outside of time, but you can use it to get to different places in time. But if you're stuck there, it may be a long time or it may not.
It would have been a
time.
perfect opportunity to explain all that, or show Kang starting to fuck around with it once somebody fucks up and gives him a little too much power. You know what I mean? He starts messing with it, and I don't know. You could have.
I think what it'd be.
You could take.
I think something. Yeah, but something that could have been interesting is like Michelle Pfeiffer's been down there in 30 years in Earth time, and then she goes back, and Kang's actually been ruler for 1,000 years. Like he's just been living in the quantum realm for 1,000 years. He's developed this whole army and empire over 1,000 years, but for them it really has only been 30. So that's even more
that's something that I didn't get the impression that Janet was down there for actually longer than 30 years. You know what I mean? It felt like it was 30 years that passed in Earth time, but it also just was 30 years in the quantum realm, whereas she could have been, obviously maybe she obviously visibly ages from younger Michelle Pfeiffer to older. And so, is it that her biology is still the same regardless of where she is? So she ages, in that sort of way, but so she couldn't be down there for 1,000 years. But I don't know. It did feel like, well, time doesn't exist here, but also she just ages like a normal human down there.
Yeah, so I just don't understand.
And how long was she down there for? There are sort of weird things. It's just when you start playing with concepts of outside of time and space, within time still passes. What does that mean? So I don't know. It didn't really feel like it was
Not
either
a lot
super
of
well
time was
thought out,
given-
or they
yeah,
just
exactly.
didn't
That's
really attempt to think about it. And it's like,
Uninspired is what it is.
those are things that could have been interesting to deal with. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of interesting to have Kang in a setting where like he's very deliberately cut off from his primary mode of, you know, how he does things. You know, like basically, you know, it's a big deal when he gets his suit back, because then if he can reaccess technology, you know, that is light years beyond anything that we can imagine, and that alone is enough for him to be able to turn around and conquer this whole realm, more or less. But yeah, at the same time, Kang conquering the quantum realm mostly just seems like he has a bunch of stormtroopers going around. Like the quantum realm doesn't feel like a real fucking place that he's conquered and has, you know, dominance over. It kind of just feels like a CGI planet setting kind of thing.
Especially
it doesn't
because
feel lived in or breathed in, you know.
And I feel like they try to do that with the other characters.
The rebellion kind of thing.
Right, but I didn't get enough out of them. It's like one of those things
they were
where,
kind
like,
of cardboard cutouts.
I've
mean,
got
it's
holes.
just like there's nothing special.
Holes
you
guy,
have
I liked Holes guy. I thought Holes guy
it's
was
funny, but like you also, it just seems like you could have done a lot more with those characters. Like I didn't get the sense of Kang's oppression on them, and you bring in
aside
Chief
from
Good
Jonathan
Place
Majors,
for like a super small role.
Aside from his performance, his role in the universe felt very underwhelming. Like his presence as the Conqueror felt deserved, right?
Sure.
Like he felt like a menacing character.
Yes, he's menacing. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But like how he's represented within the quantum realm, it just doesn't feel very, I don't know. It doesn't feel menacing at the same time. So like when he's on camera, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. This guy's like a bad dude. But then like it was just disconnected. You know what I mean? I think that the biggest criticism I have is uninspired. It feels like an uninspired movie. Yeah. It felt like an opportunity to put Jonathan Majors on a pedestal and show his acting prowess and how he can. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, if you let Jonathan Majors cook, like he'll do it. You know, you just got to give him something to work with. But I think his character could have had even more. And some of the problems I have with Kang is just like I understand that he wants to conquer all because he's Kang the Conqueror, but like
why?
But like yeah, I don't really truly understand
what's the end game for him? Like what?
Right.
What does it mean to him personally to do that?
And then we'll probably never know because this, as you know, you see in the end of the movie, this one's dead from the Kang Council, which is the second Kang variant that we've now seen die. Which I think that's kind of what bothered me a little bit with the end. I wish he had gotten out and like that just had started a whole wave of repercussions of just like this is the oh shit moment. Of it seemed very much like we're gonna close this and make it a nice Ant-Man movie. But we brought this Kang, this new villain for next phase or two, but it's not this one. It's one of the other Kangs, or it's the Council of Kangs, and I don't know. Like I want to know who really we're fighting off against and why we're fighting off against them.
Yeah, it is interesting because I think that. Like, Scott's closing thing is like, wait, he said that if he didn't get out, then something really bad would happen. And so, like, what does that mean? And it's like, okay, well, you could have also just accomplished that by him literally getting out, too.
Yeah.
Right. Even if he's not immediately going to Scott's Earth, you know, to the prime Earth
like,
of
see some
of the
of the
MCU,
repercussions.
Like, we'll still have the background knowledge of, like, oh, shit, we let him go. Like, at this very moment in time, we might be safe, but we're still kind of under siege. And we know that other universes might be getting... you know, fucking conquered at this point in time. You know, we don't know what's going on with him and that could happen in the background for 3 years until the Kang dynasty. And at that point he's conquered every world. And then now he's coming to, you know, to the prime Earth. But yeah, I kind of agree that losing this particular iteration of Kang, it makes me a little less excited for the future because it's like, well, I don't know where to go. And
couldn't get invested.
Is there another version that's the Conqueror as well?
Does he have that time chair? Because this one felt like he'd be cruising around in that fucking time chair. Just a badass. floating
Yeah,
around that
and-
fucking
And I think the tough thing is jumping to the mid credits scene, if we want to, because it's kind of this. We're kind of right there anyway. The Council of Kangs. It's like, I don't know. It's like a
That's
goofy
cool.
scene. It's like
It's
a neat
cool,
idea,
but, like-
but
goofy, though. It's a little goofy.
the scene was a
but,
little
like-
goofy. The designs aren't as good as the Conqueror design. I mean,
No.
yeah, it's cool to see a Ramatut and a Mortis and whatever the third one is. As Anna would put it, Jonathan Majors played it a little bit gay, which was a weird. Like, it's like, okay, like maybe there's a gay king, and that's not crazy. That's not out there, and that's not really anything bad. But it's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing here? Like, you know, like, is
Who
that
are these Kangs?
like we just saw this fucking badass Kang for a whole movie, and then you got this Jonathan Majors without hair, eyebrows, with like a little bit of a lisp, and wearing some sort of metal armor, and it's like,
It's like the Mike Tyson Kang.
yeah, like is that supposed to be a replacement or not? Because if it is, that's a
Reminded
downgrade.
me of,
That's Iron
reminded me of
Lad.
that fucking movie I watched that I didn't like.
Crimes of the Future,
Crimes of the Future King.
right? Like
He's got a bunch of ears.
That's not an upgrade, and really, quite honestly, neither is Jonathan Majors in an Egyptian headdress or Jonathan Majors with a big tall hat, and like
And
none
honestly-
of those feel like upgrades. Like, I think those are fine. It's interesting to do different versions of Kang with different
Right.
costumes, and like that's totally cool and in line with the character. But the Conqueror is the baddest one of them all. Like, like
And
you're not
this
going to be
one
able to
felt
top
like
that.
it could have been the fucking baddest one of them all.
This could have
And
been.
so-
I mean, they made it out to be that way.
My
And maybe
personal,
he is. Maybe
Go ahead,
this
sorry.
mid-season or maybe the mid-credit thing is wrong, right? Like maybe those.
It just
maybe-
seems weird, though.
Maybe he's the conqueror because he deceived them. You know what I mean? So maybe
yeah. I mean, they say he's dead. My personal thinking is there's a good chance that he just MODOK'd it and managed to survive what should have killed him. A scenario in which Darren was folded in on himself and somehow survived in the quantum realm and was repurposed into MODOK. I think that there's a way that Kang the Conqueror gets sucked into a multiversal engine or whatever,
Sure.
and somehow comes out of that alive because he's Kang the motherfucking Conqueror. I think there's a way that works, but
and he comes
they've
out
already-
more pissed than ever. Like he was
correct.
already.
Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what
exiled.
they're going. And now he's exiled, and now he's even more powerful than ever, and he kills everyone in the council, and he says, "I'm the only Kang left. I am the Conqueror. I've conquered all." Maybe that's where it goes.
me. I am Kang.
You know that
Right,
that
but we have no inclination towards that other than that would be cool. Maybe they'll do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we're left with the idea of, okay, well, this one's dead as far as we know, and we have these other goofballs. The goof
maybe
troop
that
running
metal
around.
one. Maybe that metal one is Kang. Crimes that
Maybe.
The Mike Tyson Kang.
Crimes of the Future Kang. Maybe that's the one. Maybe that's the central threat for the next two Avengers movies.
I don't want it.
Don't want it.
Right. You don't want. I don't want any of those three as the villain for the next Avengers.
No, they're like
movie.
neat. but
None of those excite
no.
me.
No. But even the Conqueror Kang, like I really enjoyed him in the portrayal, but some of the things they wrote him to do, it's just silly. Like, why is he fighting Scott Lang? Like, we're gonna see him fight Michael B. Jordan. Like, that's Jonathan Majors' fighting movie right there. He doesn't need to be throwing punches. Like, it just gets into the like.
He beat the fuck out of Ant-Man.
Yeah, but just like, well, why? Like, he's Kang the Conqueror. He's smarter than everyone. He's got the most technology. I get that he lost like technology, but when you saw the He Who Remains, he never fought them. He just like,
No, he did
I
not.
know what's gonna happen, so I can just, I'm gonna outsmart you. And I kind of wish he had outsmarted him. Where I feel like Scott actually outsmarted him, where he's like, I'm gonna do this thing, get the portal, and get you stuck here, and we're both gonna lose.
Right.
But the portal was open. He could have just gone through the portal and be like, see you, Scott.
Done.
So I feel like he didn't outsmart him. If anything, he got outsmarted.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mind some of that in the sense that this Kang, the whole movie, was basically detached from the things that made him, I feel like, in some ways superior to others, which is his access to technology and his ability to just use this to impose his will, I guess, more or less. And so, like, once he gets the suit back, then suddenly he's got access again, and then he loses that, and now his access is kind of cut off again. I didn't mind that. I mean, I liked that, like, I mean, there's no world, as one of you mentioned, the men's health magazines, you know, there's no world in which Jonathan Majors versus Paul Rudd doesn't end with Paul Rudd's ass getting beat to the turf. You know what I mean? There's no world. And, like, they never tried to convince me that Scott Lang was going to win that fist fight, you know? And so I didn't mind any of that. I guess I didn't mind any of that. I just wish that the actual resolution, maybe it was literally just like, fuck you, I'm jumping in the portal, actually. That could have been fine. Or just some other way where he escapes, I think kind of would have been preferable to me, because I think it would have been a nice holy shit kind of moment. And like, that's the thing in the back of your head. Like, we knew Thanos was kind of operating in the background.
Where's he going? What's he going to do?
Since the end of Avengers, you could have still had that sort of thing with Kang, where he's off pruning the Fantastic Four universe from the Tim Story, you know, characters like Chris Evans, Johan Griffith, and Jessica Alba, and Michael Chiklis. They're all getting fucking pruned in the background of these movies, and like that's
that'd be pretty cool.
You know, that sort of thing could have been cool. I don't know. It was fine. It was fine. I didn't mind it so much, but I understand, I guess, the overall complaints. Should we do MODOK talk? I feel like you were dancing around MODOK a lot. Andrew, I am certain you were referring to MODOK when you were thinking about a certain character with perhaps wonky CG. Maybe by design. I really don't know.
I feel like it was by design. I feel like it was very purposeful.
I don't know that there's a good way to make a convincing looking MODOK.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
So I think the way to do it is to make him look absolutely fucked. And not in like a traditional comic booky MODOK where like his face is like melty and shit kind of thing. Like, he just looks like big, stretchy, Corey Stoll
I think the concept here is that certain parts of his body shrunk and other parts of his body didn't quite shrink as much.
Which you kind of see in Ant-Man, and I think it was kind of retrofitted to make it work for MODOK at the same time. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. And so his head became big, stretchy, fucked up proportioned kind of thing.
I thought that was funny as a whole.
I thought it was funny the first time you see him, and he comes back and it's Darren. He's
just like,
Darren,
everyone's just like,
dude.
And everyone saw them was like, what the fuck is that? Excuse me, we need to take a second and just acknowledge this big fucking floating head right here.
Yep.
And this tiny arms and tiny legs. What is going on here? So I feel like it was kind of played intentionally ridiculous.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I thought so.
I liked it. I liked MODOK.
I enjoyed MODOK. That's pretty,
I laughed.
It's just so ridiculous.
On screen.
I mean, I do think like the CG was like wonky, but like to me it didn't feel bad so much as just like, I don't know what else you can do.
What am I looking at?
Other than change the character design, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I think there are ways to do it that would have looked more convincing, but at the same time, like, this is almost intentionally fucked looking as a result, and it's just like, yeah, okay, that's fine.
I think they totally made it as fucked looking as possible.
I think so, because like you want to be looking at this like grotesque. It's like, what am I looking at?
Yeah. Anyways, I think it was an art design. That's why I don't have a terrible problem with it. Yeah, exactly.
Just don't be a dick.
The way it was written was ridiculous too.
It was ridiculous. It was played as a joke. I've seen a lot of people like bitching about like his like redemption thing, and I'm like,
come on, get over yourself.
The whole thing is like, when you're messing with PEM particles and you don't really have like the containment suit, like it's going to mess with your brain chemistry. I can buy a version of Darren that has gone through this fucking genesis of turning into MODOK, who's genuinely just fucking completely unstable and doesn't understand things, and someone's just like, stop being a dick. He's like, yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I'll be an Avenger, for an hour.
Because I mean, that's a scene
it was goofy as hell. I thought it was funny. I thought that was genuinely funny.
I enjoyed that.
I like the ants too. The ants.
I thought the inclusion of the ants was pretty fucking neat. I feel like
Michael Douglas comes in like a fucking
Michael Douglas has been
boss.
underappreciated. I think he's been consistently very funny and charming in these movies, and I feel like this is like the most like Ant-Man shit he's done in any of these movies to date. And that was really cool to see him just being like, I just like ants, and like just having a whole goddamn army of giant ants in the quantum realm. Like, that to me felt really fun and neat and Ant-Man-y, and to me that was like a thing where I'm like, if you're Kang, how the fuck are you going to predict a giant army of ants getting funneled down into the quantum realm that are hyper intelligent, have their own functioning civilization, and just completely wreck your shit? that doesn't upset me in any way. It's so
That's Ant-Man
wild
thing,
and out there.
right?
Like that's an Ant-Man kind of thing where it's just like, what the fuck? And I love that. I did really like that part personally.
I think that was actually the best part of the whole movie. I agree with you. It's the most inspired part of the whole movie.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, especially juxtaposed against a lot of the uninspired things, I thought like the rebellion stuff, just generic as all hell. Like the warrior woman, generic. I mean, Hole's guy was funny, but kind of inconsequential. And like none of the, I didn't think any of the rebellion characters were particularly memorable. I mean, like, Bill Murray shows up and he's just like...
I was going to say, even Bill Murray...
He's just generic like, asshole Bill Murray, just being an asshole. Like, he's just playing himself. Like, kind of like...
Uninspired.
Yeah.
I love me some Bill Murray.
Yeah, and he's good at playing an asshole. I assume he just kind of is himself, because it just seems like he just does the same thing in a lot of his roles, and, like, it's good enough. But...
but Michael Douglas showing up at the end.
Michael Douglas,
with all those ants.
That was good. That was good stuff. I enjoyed that.
I did like the brutal fight scene between Ant-Man and Kang. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Felt visceral. Gave us a little taste of what maybe we can expect from a Creed movie.
Oh man.
I listen, I'm on the Jonathan Majors train, man. Dude's fucking awesome.
I mean,
I don't think you're the only one.
Yeah. I think a lot of people should be on the Jonathan Majors train because obviously he's getting a lot of huge roles, but he's awesome in those roles.
Killing him.
And I feel like he deserves every bit of success that has been coming his way and continues to come his way. He's a really good. I'm excited to see him in the future of the MCU. Even if it is Crimes of the Future Kang, I guess I'll live with that. I think we'll see.
He'll always
we'll see with
be Lovecraft Country.
Yeah.
And quick side note on Kang, I remember Jonathan Majors. I remember the first time I saw him was Last Black Man, San Francisco. Yeah. Very different role. He's like odd, but just kind of like the quirky, like Luffy friend. And I feel like each time he's done slightly different. It's quite good. Quite enjoyed that film. But I feel like every time he's like brought something different. So it's just you can just give him something and just let him cook. Yeah.
I have two more things that I think may be worth talking about, and I'll obviously be happy to talk about anything else that comes up for you guys. How did you guys feel about the Cassie recast here? First introduction of Catherine Newton as Cassie Lang. Obviously, Cassie is older than she was in those first Ant-Man films because of that time jump, but then we got that recast in Endgame, like I said, with Emma Thurman playing Cassie in Endgame, and kind of that like little pivotal role where Scott comes back and is like, oh shit, what the fuck, how long has it been? How'd you guys feel about her here? Both the actor and the character in this movie. Did you guys enjoy her?
Yeah, thought it was totally fine.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think her performance was fine, but I think, like most things in the film, I wish her character had been more fleshed out, but I don't think that's specific to her. Like, I feel like I got a lot of interesting things in the beginning, like you were saying, and it just, it didn't fully develop throughout the rest of the film. Just a lot of the relationships, I feel like I could have had more. I don't know if they did so many things. It's one of those things where it's like, maybe we have too much here in a 2-hour movie and we need a 3-hour movie, or we just need less things in a 2-hour movie. I don't know, because I could have used more between her and Scott Lang.
I think it's a lack of the writing. Like, I think the character was fine. Like, I think the idea that she was, that she's inspired by her father, but at the same time disappointed by her father. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel there's a lot to that. You could really.
There is a lot to that. That's a whole thing. It's like a whole arc. You know what I mean? They started it and it kind of like petered out. It's like you said, maybe they have too many ends to follow up on, and they didn't quite finish them, or are they? I think it's a lack of the writing. I think it's just another uninspired kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I think that's the big thing with this movie is
the theme.
Just like missed opportunities. That's the theme, right? Missed opportunities.
Yeah, I agree. None of it is like bad in and of
No.
itself.
But there's
It's
just
like
so
it
much
could've been better.
potential.
Just
you
feels
got
like it
so
could've been
much
better.
good stuff here, man. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, some of it's either half baked or just not as satisfying as it feels like it could or should have been. Perhaps. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. All right. I Anna is not a fan of her. I'll say that. I thought she was fine. I think my biggest complaint, and I think that a lot of this is founded in watching the Ant-Man films, is she just didn't feel like the same character to me. And I think some of it obviously is like, well, she's a lot older, she looks different, blah blah blah. And I kind of get that. Like, obviously Scott lost a lot of time with her, and so we kind of missed some pivotal, teenage stages of her life where, as she was growing up. But to me, it just, I don't know, those two characters just felt so different. Like young Cassie and old Cassie just feel so detached and different from each other that it was almost hard to kind of buy into the relationship between her and her dad. But I thought she played it fine. I didn't mind her or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of recasting. I think recasting in general kind of sucks. I think it kind of ruins the flow and continuity of certain things. And I think that here, I understand even the youngest actress, the young actress that played her in the first two Ant-Man movies, like, she's still not old enough to have played this character now, let alone have played, the older Cassie in Endgame when that came out a few years ago. So I totally get the decision and stuff, but it does kind of, I don't know. I think they could have played into it more. Obviously they started the movie and kind of ended it with them kind of getting closer to each other and trying to understand each other a little bit more, but it was not quite as well done. And maybe that kind of folds into the whole idea of, well, the movie would be better if he was trying to get more time with her, which they didn't really go for.
Yeah.
So, my other thing I was going to ask about was that final post-credit scene. Who's excited for Loki season 2, huh?
Well,
I think that looks
yeah.
great. I think that was
More Jonathan Majors and Loki as Victor Timely.
Well, that's the thing. Like you just get that. It's interesting. Like, where is
that
this
his
going?
name, Victor Timely? I don't know anything about Victor Timely.
He's the theoretical version of Kang that we see in that scene that's on stage doing like some sort of science demonstration or whatever.
Yeah, but that was like just enough to pique your interest because you have Morbius and he's like, this guy. He's like, this guy's the one you're worried about, and Loki's like,
Loki's like scared shitless.
that guy, and you're just like, oh,
yeah. I just Tom Hiddleston, man, he's just so good, isn't he? And you know what, Owen Wilson as Mobius, man, like
is
Mobius.
Too, right?
Not Morbius. Morbius.
I'm excited for fucking for more Loki. That just made me excited for more Loki. As the end result of that, and I'm excited to see more Jonathan Majors and Loki in a different flavor. And of the 4 Kangs that we spent time with that were talking in these mid and post credit scenes, Victor Timely is the one that intrigues me the most. So, that's what I have for you guys. Any other things that you guys want to talk about, such as Hope's non-role in this movie?
Well, I was gonna say, I was literally gonna be like, this movie is called Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and there's not
Janet's
a whole
the Wasp.
lot to. Yeah, you could say this is more the original Wasp, but yeah, it's like we really didn't give Hope much for this film. It's kind of like
she's doing businessy shit, and then she's just being a supportive, maybe wife. I'm not really sure, partner at least.
But she had like a good role in the last movie. It's just
maybe some of her parts got cut out for a particular reason. Maybe
I don't know about this reason.
Maybe some of her stuff got axed because Evangeline Lilly fucking sucks.
Does she suck?
Maybe that's why. Yeah, big anti-vaxxer, and yeah. I think she went to some dumb fucking rally, anti-vax rally kind of thing.
What are you even doing? Like, why?
Yep. So I actually do know for a fact that apparently there was a point in the film where she maybe was going to have a son, and people are speculating maybe it's during like the probability storm when she comes in and helps Scott. Baskin Robbins Scott. We didn't talk about that. That was funny. I enjoyed that.
That was funny. Yeah.
But like that was like something that was left on the cutting room floor, and like maybe it's just because it was too complicated. They didn't have enough time. They didn't want to deal with it. They wanted to tighten it, or maybe it's just like, nah, we're good. We don't need more of her. But it did really feel like her role was like
greatly diminished.
Really nothing. And I don't, again, it's hard to say it was that designed and it was really just meant to be a Janet and Kang kind of movie, and with a decent amount of Scott and a decent amount of Hank, and just, Hope had her own movie in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but that was kind of her movie in a sort of way, so fuck her. We don't really need to have more focus on her. Like, I don't know. Was it a concerted response to not, giving Evangeline Lilly, more prominence? I really don't know. It's hard to say. I think it's just as likely that they just didn't write a lot for her in this movie as anything else. So I don't know, but it was interesting that she was really just kind of a non-factor. I mean, she was there. We can say that she was there, but she didn't. There wasn't a whole lot for her to say or do in this. So kind of weird, kind of interesting, I guess. But I don't know. Yeah,
but I guess you briefly hit on my last point that I just wanted to say was coming back to the writing. It just makes me a little concerned, because I think if this was the end and fine, but we have now seen a little bit of what comes forward in the next couple of phases. And as of now, the writer for this movie is set to work on Kang Dynasty.
Yep.
And that makes me a little nervous, just because I thought that there was a lot of good things.
That's a really valid point.
Good things to this film, but a big Avengers film. And then, I went back and I looked at his previous films and works, and there's not a whole lot there. Like, there's some Rick and Morty, which is cool. It's a lot of timey-wimey stuff, but it wasn't much else. There's a few, sketches and things, and it just makes me a little nervous. I know Kevin Feige is the king of picking people out that don't have these extensive resumes, giving them a big part, and they deliver. But I don't know. Lately, too, not everyone has delivered, and as much as I liked Loki season 1, I didn't love the writing in Doctor Strange, and we know Michael Waldron's doing the Avengers film after that. So. I don't know if I need to point fingers at people and just be like, are the writers here to blame, or is this on Kevin Feige for just we need to tighten ship, or is it even go up the way up to Bob Iger and be like, let's see how things are? But it makes me a little bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
And I think there's a good chance that neither of those Avengers films are fully written yet or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I think there's always opportunities for them to tinker with it, bring in new folks to even edit a script or, polish it kind of thing, which is pretty standard for these. Or, sometimes it's as simple as having the right director involved. We know that Kang Dynasty is going to have Destin Daniel Cretton, and I think Shang-Chi has been one of the best certainly one of the best MCU entries in Phase 4.
Yeah.
I think certainly much better than this film too. So maybe that's what you need the right kind of guiding hand, or hands, with the Russo brothers, with the Avengers movies they worked on. So
but even Peyton Reed's not a shabby director with the two Ant-Man films, and recently the Mandalorian episodes.
That's true. His Mando stuff's been good.
That was fantastic.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know. So,
we'll see. It's all a combination of things, and so we'll see what happens. I mean, if anything, Blade has shown that they're willing to chuck stuff out if it's not working,
and that's what I'm kind of hoping,
and throw out the production schedule if they need it. And on the other hand, you have someone like Craig Mazin, going from the Hangover movies and scary movies to all the way to writing Chernobyl and The Last of Us kind of thing. So even people with bad resumes can put out good content, turn it around. So.
And I don't think Marcus and McFeely had the the most impressive resume before him, but they kind of built it up, right? They did Captain America, Winter Soldier, Civil War, and then
Infinity War and Endgame,
So I don't know.
That's valid. Yep. We'll see. I mean, Maybe the MCU whole kind of release schedule gets pushed around, and they give Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars another year before they actually come out.
Maybe
they may yet. The plan still may be in motion. To a certain extent,
more
perhaps,
time. A little bit more time makes all the difference.
Yeah, let's Kevin Feige take all the time you need,
Do it.
but let's
Take
get
the
some
time you
good
need.
stuff. Yeah, let's get some
It's
good
like
stuff.
video games. Video games get delayed. You're like, oh shit, I wanted to play that, but
Freaking Zelda game.
I'd rather
I haven't had
than
a Zelda game in 30 years.
when they release it, I want it to not be a buggy piece of shit that doesn't work. You know what I mean?
That's right.
In the same way that I want films to be as the best version
Best
that they
versions.
can be.
Yeah.
You know, from writing, from pre-production to production to post-production, like all those aspects, like do it right. You know, and I'm not going to say that they did it wrong or anything with this one, but it could have been better. It could have been better.
Yeah, that's the
you know,
thing.
and it sucks because you can kind of see the cracks and you can see where things could have been better. You know, overall. So anyway, I enjoyed it, but it could have been better.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Any other spoilerific thoughts for Ant-Man and the Wasp? Quantumania.
That's all I got.
I don't know. I think that's about it.
All right, I think we've covered it quite adequately, I would say. And so why don't we turn the page? I'd like to hear from either of you. Have you guys been up to anything interesting? Enrique, maybe we could start with you. I feel like we haven't heard from you. You sent
good
some
little
pre-taped
while.
segments
Oh yeah.
to
I had
us
some
recently, talking about some movies and TV shows and stuff that you quite
Right.
enjoyed from 2022. But yeah, what's been going on with you lately? You want to talk about?
I'm trying to think back. After we talked about some 2022 films, which I'm still trying to get through a few, kind of just waiting
Catching
for
up
streaming at this
on
point. So
stragglers, yeah.
I haven't watched a whole ton more. I'm kind of devoting my Sundays to The Last of Us. I can say that I'm enjoying that
And you're caught up on
quite
it?
a lot. Yep, caught up. We've been watching week to week. You know, pretty much release day, if not maybe the next day, but usually just release day. And I love that feeling of kind of old school Game of Thrones. Like it's like every episode is a big deal, and there's a whole discussion around it. So, you know, I think even if you do watch it later, I think it will be a great show to still binge. But I'm quite enjoying it. It's
on a week-to-week basis.
Week-to-week basis. It gives me a lot to think about. Certain episodes give me a whole lot to think about and feel about and reevaluate my whole life.
And you have or have not played either of the games?
I have not played the games,
Okay.
and I thought about starting it. I think it's on like the PS Plus or whatever.
I think you can get the
subscription things.
PS4 remaster if you have PlayStation Plus.
At this
on
point, I'm
PS5.
kind of like, maybe I should just do the remake. It's it's the price of a whole new game, but it looks
Yeah.
real good. So, I think I'm gonna wait to just finish the season at this point. I think there's only like 3
I think it's
episodes left
three
or
more.
something.
Yeah, I think it's a 9-episode season.
So I'll probably do that realistically, because the main thing that's been eating my time aside from that is trying to finish up some video games before I can get anything new. So been pretty much between God of War Ragnarok, which I have not finished yet. I know Andrew's I'm sure he'll talk about it, but
he had just gotten the PS5 last time we recorded,
Yeah.
so it's now been 15 days of Ragnarok and stuff. So we'll see what's going on
15
there.
good days. So I'm still not done with the game. I think I'm at very least halfway, but it's making some progress. It's an incredible game. Highly recommend it. Just it looks amazing. The story's fantastic, and just the Norse mythology of it. It makes me want to learn more. And I'd already listened to the Norse mythology book.
I was going to say, get the Neil Gaiman one. Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
I'm all out of recommendations.
I'm honestly listening to that again, but I just kind of find some YouTube clips and things to learn more about the characters from Norse mythology and how they change it for the game. So it's just so neat. I can't say good enough things about it, and I'm really excited to see how it ends. So, but aside from that, I've also been playing some Pokemon Scarlet. It is speaking of buggy games, that is a buggy game. It is, man, that's glitchy to all hell. Sometimes you look in the background and there's just people moving at 16-bit. It's just blip, 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 blip. It looks real bad sometimes. With all that being said, it's actually a pretty fun game. The open world concept of Pokemon is really neat, and I think the other cool thing is you do the gym badges, but there's also this other part of the game where you're supposed to fight these not legendary Pokemon, these Titans is what they call it. These giant Pokemon, and you don't know why they're giant and so powerful. And you also fight teams
Attack on Titan
Star.
deal.
Kind of, yeah. So there's like multiple parts to the story, which is pretty cool. And it's been pretty fun. I have a pretty stacked party, I think. I got some newcomers, some oldcomers. I came across a shiny Noibat and evolved that to a shiny Noivern. So that's
which
pretty
which
cool.
starter
Like
did you
green.
go with?
I went with the sassy fancy duck.
Sassy duck
with the little pompadour, and he's pretty cool.
Googling sassy duck Pokemon. I was trying to look at the design.
He's
okay, I see. Yes,
he's very interesting, and I almost have enough to make like a whole fighting party with some Primeape has a new evolution. It's pretty cool.
Okay, right.
What?
He's a ghost and fighting type, and he's real.
That's cool.
He's actually really strong. He's like a little overpowered, and he's called Annihilate, and he's just like a dead Primeape kind of thing. It's very cool.
Annihilate?
Yeah, look up Annihilate. His design is pretty awesome, and
Annihilate
his moveset
is it spelled like
Annihilate?
Annihilate. Oh yes, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So,
Fuck yeah.
And like you just see, he literally just walks
That's fucking
around and
metal,
it's just
dude.
like ghosts.
That's fucking metal.
Dude, Annihilate is awesome. He's one of my favorite Pokemons. That and Scarlet. He's like a Mega Man. It's like a Mega Man Pokemon.
Dude, have
basically.
you seen this guy? Annihilate?
This is fucking this is just straight up
Right?
metal. This is the coolest Pokemon I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
A Rage Monkey Pokemon.
Right,
I
Rage
love everything
Monkey.
about this. I love it.
Oh yeah, he's great. Saraledge and Armorogue are the other cool ones.
After using Rage Fist 20 times, he's the
Yeah,
final
that's how you
form
get
of
him.
Mankey. What the fuck is going on with Pokemon?
Pokemon's doing some weird shit. But then this is the other one, Armorogue.
Okay.
He's like a Mega Man looking
okay.
Pokemon.
All right. I like
yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah,
That looks pretty sick.
He's a psychic and fire. That's pretty cool.
Second compare. That's a good combo. All right.
That's some cool
Nice.
stuff. Yeah.
Did you play Legends? I can't remember.
I didn't. I played a tiny bit actually. You seen?
I was just curious
it, but I
if
did
you,
not.
if you were able to compare it, but
Not enough. I didn't play enough of it.
Yeah.
It seems like some of the open world kind of elements similar.
Right. Yeah.
And this one has a new mechanic too. You know how each generation kind of has like a new gimmick or whatever. Like there's the Mega Evolution and all that thing.
Yeah.
This one has Terrestrialize, where you change your party's type, or you change your one Pokemon's type. And I thought that was pretty gimmicky. Looking into some of like the people who do it competitively, it's actually like really changed the competitive game, because like you have a rock fighting Pokemon and all of a sudden you change it to like a ghost type and then none of the moves can hit it, and so it's pretty neat, and you can kind of really get into it.
Well,
So-
was it Sword and Shield, or one of the generations was just like they get real big. Like,
Yeah. Dynamax.
Just-
You just
I'm
get
like,
real big.
This is just lame.
Dynamax.
I
Yeah.
was like, they're just big. Okay.
And then I think the Mega Evolution is pretty cool, because like
The
they
megas
just
were
look
cool.
weird.
You know, you have to have certain items to make it work. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. I thought that was fine, but
Yeah, so I
Dynamax,
thought
part
this
about
was kind of
Dynamax.
it is silly because they just wear little hats. It's like your Charizard gets like a dragon hat or a fire hat.
Just
So they look
imagining
real
it as a little
silly.
party hat. I don't care if
Yeah.
that's wrong. That's what it looks like in my head.
But then you get some interesting ones like I got my air type Pikachu or my weird type this. So it's
Yeah, I could see
pretty
that.
fun, actually.
That feels more gameplay influential than they're big. You
big.
know?
Yeah,
So,
they're big. So yeah, you just have to get over the janky animation.
God, I haven't played Pokemon in so long. I'm so far out of it. These new Pokemons look fucked up. I don't
There's
know.
only like 1,000 of them to catch now, so it's really not. a
Yeah,
big deal. You
exactly.
can catch up, no problem.
Well, the starting fire Pokemon is 910. So is it over 1,000
Yeah.
now?
I think. Probably
Yeah,
not
but you
quite
don't have
literally,
all. But you
it's
don't have
pretty
all
close.
of them in the game.
That's
you
true.
know?
Yeah. You gotta play the other three other Pokemon games and use the Pokemon bank.
And there's also different versions of like there's a new form of Taurus, and he's just an asshole. He's a fighting type Taurus. They just all storm you. You're just like walking around, and all of a sudden like a fucking herd of Tauruses just come and attack you. It's kind of terrifying.
Man, Annihilate is number 979.
Nihilate's pretty awesome.
Oh, maybe they did cross 1,000.
They probably
I just
did.
assumed that they hadn't quite gotten there yet, but that's
Not very
perilously close. I think they might be there yet. I don't know.
Is
They
this
might be there.
Paldea? Is that the?
This
is
is
that
the Paldea, yeah. It's definitely based off of
1,008. They've breached 1,000.
Oh, they did it. They did it.
2008,
Okay.
yeah, okay.
Fucking
Over
hell.
1,000 Pokemon. It's too much to get. It's
Only
too
took
That's a
how
lot of
many years?
Pokemon. Gotta catch them all.
When did the first game come out, do we think?
Oh, like
90s,
94
mid-90s?
or something? Maybe earlier?
All right. So
Earlier, yeah.
talking like what, 3 decades, 1,000 Pokemon?
Mm-hmm.
Fucking Pokemon, man. Jesus
What's
Christ.
the legendaries? Let me look it up.
That's them all. I know. The thing. The legendary.
It is one that you can ride
The
around
legendaries
with the
are like
legendaries,
motorcycles. They're like motorcycle
Yeah.
Pokemon.
No, stop it. What Pokemon is this?
No, it's like
Scarlet and Violet.
Koraidon, yeah. So this is Scarlet and Violet. and-
Koraidon? He's a motorcycle and his name is Koraidon? No, stop.
Having
Koraidon.
fun when they
Oh,
named him.
stop it. I even spelt it right. How did I spell that right? Pokemon number 1007 is
you go.
Koraidon.
Yeah,
So,
like
fuck.
one is like a little bit more hoppy, like a lizard thing, and the other one is straight up motorcycle.
Wow. Oh, I've been out of the loop for a while. Things have changed. He's 8'2",
Yeah,
668 pounds.
Damn.
Koraidon.
yeah, but he gets 1,000 miles per gallon.
It's pretty good. It's pretty. I mean, if you could get a vehicle that did that, I mean, environment would be much better.
Yeah, if
Put it that way.
everybody had a Koraidon, then we'd be good.
Yeah, it'd be great. Perfect. All right, are we ready to move on from Pokemon? Are we still here? Is that where we are?
No, yeah,
Is
we
that
can
what
move
happened?
on. He's a fighting
We've been
dragon
here-
type, just so you know.
We've been here for 2+ hours, so now we've devolved into madness. That's what's happened. All right, Enrique, anything else that you've been up to you want to talk about?
No, that's big taking up all my time outside of work.
Well, I can see why.
Koraidon.
Riding Koraidon, that's right. Well, what about you, Andrew? You haven't been playing Pokemon, clearly, but you've been doing other things, perhaps.
I have. I actually I took note of them this time. Thank you. So I have
Mr. Fancy Pants.
So my wife went to watch her brother play
Did you
college
just say
baseball.
my wife in a Borat voice? Is that what you did?
My wife. She went up and she left me home alone.
Uh-oh.
When
You
she
had
left me home
You
alone,
had some home invaders for a couple of them, perhaps, and you had some booby traps that you set up. Is that what you're saying?
right? Yeah. No, but I did proceed to eat like a fucking 6-year-old or 8-year-old or however old.
Chicken
however
nuggets?
old is Kevin? I don't know how old Kevin is. but
Taquitos, pizza bite,
you ordered some
hot
pizza.
pockets.
Correct. Now, one thing Kevin did not do was drink. I did drink when Sarah was gone. Only one night, but I drank pretty good that one night. In that one night, I did complete season 1 of Korra.
Oh,
Cool.
nice. What'd you
It's
think?
a big one. It's a
Yeah.
doozy. It's pretty great.
What do you think of the villain?
I thought the villain was great.
yeah, very compelling.
It was pretty
It's like,
good.
a lot
Yeah.
of, a lot of meat there.
For it being grounded in the world of Avatar and all that, I think it's a very compelling character.
Yeah. There's
yeah,
some
I think
interesting.
it's
There's some
awesome.
interesting villains in Korra. I think even more so than Last Airbender.
Last Airbender was
It all led up to Fire Lord Azai.
correct. It was very much a Star Wars situation, right?
Yeah.
Like where you're fighting an empire and then you're going to get to the big bad of the empire. This one seems much more granular. You know, it's more of a character piece, and I think the way it ended, it leaves a lot of room for growth with the main character. So I'm excited to see where.
Do you like Mako or do you like Bolin?
I like Bolin.
Oh yeah, that's the right answer. Mako's a fuckboy. That's the correct answer.
I do like. I don't know. I like all the characters really. I think they're all pretty great. I like the kid that keeps shitting himself, the one with the weird face, like he's animated real weird. He's like, "Ooh, I gotta poop." Ooh, you know. He's like, "Ooh, you're a pretty woman." Ooh, I'm not gonna poop. He's like supposed to be a little kid, but he's an airbender. He's a little shithead, and he's got like this like fucking weird.
Honestly,
like,
this makes me want to watch it even more. I'm already going to watch it at some
There
point.
you
But this
go.
makes me want to watch it more.
he's got this weird, like he's kind of like like an old man head, but he's like a little kid. It's big and round. He's a weird kid.
Wait, who are you talking about?
Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I'm confused.
You know who I'm talking about? She's got the airbender guy has 3 kids. 2 are little girls, I think, and 1 is the little fucking guy that.
Oh, his son. Yeah. I thought you were talking about Tenzin. I was like, what?
No, not Tenzin. No, I'm
But one of the sons. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. The littlest one. Yeah.
The kid, every time that kid pops up, he's pretty fucking funny. I laugh a lot. I've also have been watching Abbott Elementary. We're caught up.
Nice.
Oh yeah, I did start that, but I'm not very far.
Oh, it's a good show, man. It's an easy watch to it. They're great. Half-hour episodes. You're tired. You wore out from work. Maybe you're feeling a little down. Maybe you had a long day at work. Turn on some Abbott Elementary. It'll kick it up for you. It's good. And I'm new to those kinds of shows. Usually I like to dwell in like the heavy shit. Abbott Elementary really does kind of pick you up a little bit, and I really like it. I think maybe it was. I ranked it pretty high last year in like our rankings, but it really is a pretty remarkable show. But much more on my scale, much more on my level is The Last of Us. I am all caught up on The Last of Us. It is a very, very, very heavy show for it being a sci-fi video gamey kind of. Well, I mean the game itself was heavy.
Well,
exactly. The show is incredible. It is. I mean, it's Chernobyl in a video game. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's truly remarkable. The cinematography is absolutely beautiful,
gorgeous.
The characters, the way that they intertwine, like the soundtrack of the show, everything that the characters represent. It's just tour de force all the way.
Best video game adaptation of all time.
Best video game adaptation. And dare I mean, Chernobyl for me is like
that's the top tier TV. That's prestige. That's fucking shit right there.
Exactly. This is there for me.
This is not only a really good video game adaptation, it's ascended into this is just incredible TV too. Like, yeah.
Correct. Absolutely.
I say that as someone that hasn't watched it.
Yeah, Chernobyl for me. We all know. I think we had a conversation about like our favorite shit. Chernobyl for me is top tier television, just top tier storytelling and cinematography and characterization, just all aspects.
Perfectly married,
exactly. And this is right there with it. These people know how to crack your fucking soul. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
They'll, And it's not like one episode really, wow, like it took 3 episodes and it built up to this one point and it really just fucking cracked me wide open. No. Episode by episode by episode, you are left wide open.
Gut punch every week.
Yes. Gut punch
every Sunday.
You don't know what you're getting.
You don't know what you're getting, but you are left. You're left reeling. Like it's a powerful performances. It's I can't give it enough praise. If you're not on the train, get on the train. It's an incredible show.
Yeah.
And episode by this is one of those shows. Like if we cover it on this podcast,
we will.
It's a show that we cover episode by episode and lay it out because there's a lot of content and there's a lot of themes and everything else that's explored on an episode by episode basis, and it's truly incredible. The storytelling is it's tour de force.
I would co-sign that. Tour de force.
I've been playing a shit ton of God of War in our 15 days apart.
Okay.
Again, I would co-sign your. I would like to re-listen to Neil Gaiman's.
It's cool because like when you
Norse
see
mythology.
things that you're like, oh, I was just listening to this, or like I know about this now, and it shows up in the game, and you're like, ah, it's
Yeah,
so
totally,
cool.
dude. Like
Characters or locations or things or events even. Yeah,
mythology's fucking cool. It's really cool. It was cool with God of War. Like I would, if you want to remake anything, I'll take a remake of like
the
God of War.
Yeah, the Spartan stuff, the Greek. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd take all that. And then I don't know how the game ends. I don't know how it ends, but whatever's next, I'm excited for. If there is a next, surely there is. It's a really cool IP, and if we can just continue. If we can continue to explore
Continue killing all mythologies.
other mythologies,
Just kill them all.
If you can find
Every
a way
god.
to string those stories together, I'll take them.
All of them.
Yeah,
I choose to explore my history through Kratos. You know,
through desolation.
That's what I choose to do. Exactly. The last thing that I've done is I watched a movie that I really, really, really wanted to watch last year for our.
For the
prior
year review?
to our year in review, and that was 3,000 Years of Longing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And I thought that was an incredible movie. I think that it would have probably breached one of my best movies of the year. It's a little bit. It's cool because it's kind of a marriage between like it's kind of a love story. But it's also kind of fantastical and stuff like that, you know. So it's a really well written, it's incredibly well written. And I think it's got, who does it have in it? It's got Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton.
Tilda Swinton, yeah.
And their chemistry and just the characterization is so good. If you haven't seen it,
Well, it's streaming somewhere now, right? Is that how you watched it, or?
I caught it on the Plex.
Yeah, I think it is streaming though. So
I think so.
whether or not you watched it there or not, I'll look it up. But anyway,
I if you have a couple of hours this weekend, sit close to your. I watched it by myself because my wife happened to be up in Tennessee, and I was longing because I was by myself. But it's not. It's kind of chick flicky, but it's kind of like chick flicky in the fact that it's just a love story. And I think it's a good movie to probably watch with your spouse. I think it's. I think it's really good.
it appears to be on MGM Plus because Jesus Christ, we needed another streaming service.
MGM
I've never
Plus.
even heard of that.
Well, there you go.
Well, if you're not going to watch it, I mean, if you can watch it, I recommend watching it. I think it's a really good movie. So.
Yeah, I listened to podcasts recently that talked about it, and it like the way it was described was a little bit different than like what the trailer kind of presented.
Well, how did they describe it? I'm interested.
Well, just that it's kind of a series of a few different like almost short story type things where it's Idris Elba's genie, like
It's like a genie.
like, well, here's what
type
happened
thing.
once upon a time, and then another time here's what happened, kind of thing, and it's just kind of him and Tilda, I guess, in the hotel room, kind of, or whatever, wherever, just kind of talking through like that sort of thing, and it actually sounded interesting. Like, it sounded more interesting, I think, maybe than what the trailer promised. Like, different, but very interesting sounding.
Yeah,
I thought,
I mean, it explores loneliness, and it explores love, and it explores a lot of different.
It's George Miller, man. I mean, he doesn't just take a paycheck to make a fucking movie. It's George Miller.
Yeah, bingo. Yeah, I think you guys would really like it. I think it's
I do want to check it out. It's one that I wouldn't have minded watching like last year when it came out in theaters, but I feel like it tanked big time, and I feel like it was out of theaters in like a week or two, and I was just like, well, I mean, I guess I'm part of the problem, but
Yeah, I mean,
by the time I
same
would have
way.
had free time, it was just like, all right, well, I'll just watch it sometime later. I guess that's fine. Yeah, well, I'll figure out what the fuck MGM Plus is. Maybe I can get a trial or something and
free trial or
cancel it
something.
immediately. Do it that way, but maybe there's some good shit on there. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe you
But
can
no, I
order
would
the
like to watch
Blu-ray
that.
for fucking
Well, because
$10.
yeah, that's true too. I could do that. I mean, George Miller is great. Idris Elba's great. Tilda Swinton is great. Like, okay, I mean, seems like it should be a good, combination of things. So
It's when I
Right.
tell you it's right there.
I appreciate
promise
your
you it's right
recommendation.
there.
Your recommendation does make me want to watch it more. This does kick it up the list of things to watch. Although The Last of Us is very high on the list of like I really gotta fucking watch this. So
You definitely. Well, you need to. Finish.
I gotta finish it in time so that we can cover it. Well, yeah, that's true. I made
Andor,
progress on
yeah.
that. I'll talk about that. So, I'm
What have you been
doing
up to?
what I can.
Enough about me. What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Oh my goodness. Well, I have been watching Andor. I'll talk about that in a second. The only
nice.
movie that I've watched recently is Rocky 3, actually, because
Rocky
Creed 3 is right around the corner.
Yeah.
And Anna is behind on the Rocky franchise. She has seen Rocky 1 and 2, and that is it. So we're not going to do a full exhaustive replay of the Rocky. She's like, I don't need to go see Rocky 1 and 2. I get it. I remember them, and like fair, they are kind of the same movie. So
Rocky
we skipped
3,
that.
which
We went to
which one
Rocky
was
3. That's Clubber Lang.
Yeah,
That's
the
Mr. T as the villain. It's fine. I think.
Yeah,
it's all right. It's a standard Rocky movie, I think, is how I would classify it. It was honestly
right.
like a nice one to I was like, oh, it feels kind of weird to like skip Rocky 1 and 2 and go straight to 3 because I haven't seen them in a few years myself. But then I watched it. I'm like, no, this is fine. You get everything you need to know out of it, from watching just Rocky 3. So I think we'll do 4, and we'll skip 5, and then we'll do Balboa, and then get into the Creeds. Hopefully in time for Creed 3 because we have tickets booked for that. In not quite a week. A little over a week from now, I think, is when it drops. So we've got a little time to burn through some of these Rockies, and they're pretty short. I'm excited to get to the Creeds because I haven't seen the first Creed. I don't even think I rewatched it before Creed 2 came out. So I really think it's been since around the time that it came out that I've watched the first Creed. And I will swear by that film, and hopefully I will still swear by that film.
Oh,
upon
yeah.
rewatch.
No, I've rewatched it. It's good.
So we're the Last of Us might have to wait as we try to speed through the Rockies and Creeds before Creed 3. But other than that, we have made considerable progress on Andor. We are through the first 6 episodes now, which is better than it was last time we recorded it. We were only 3 episodes in, so we have gotten through the literal heist sequence that takes place. That's the last episode we watched was the big heist. There was 2 episodes that kind of build up to that as Cassian kind of got dropped in with this rebel group or whatever. And then there was the big heist that happened, and it was like amidst this thing with like shooting
like a meteor
lights and
shower or
stars.
something.
Yeah, meteor
an
shower
escape,
type thing, which was really, really neat visually. And the heist itself was very tense, very cool. Characters were kind of interesting, and like the stakes were just fun. Like I know Cassian's going to get out somehow because it's a prequel.
But that one guy got crushed by the fucking boxes.
that was
when they
rough.
put it in fucking
Yeah, I didn't see that coming, and obviously some other people didn't make it out of even the heist itself. And it's like, well, I don't recognize a lot of these guys, so like anyone here is disposable in a certain sort of way, and that kind of made it kind of interesting. And yeah, it was just really tense and interesting how it all played out. I'm enjoying it. I love the way that it's all shot. Stellan Skarsgård and the Mon Mothma stuff is cool, and I'm curious to see how that kind of progresses, where that all kind of goes out, because we're now halfway through the season. So
when's the monologue? Enrique, do you remember?
I don't think there's been a monologue yet. It must be in the back half.
There's a big monologue. I mean, some great lines in general, but Skarsgård has a monologue, and I feel like it's later on.
7
it's
or
kind
8,
of in response. Yeah, it's kind of in response to some.
I think it's got to be
Mon Mothma
later. I
stuff.
haven't seen anything that
He's like,
quite resembles a monologue. He's been very good, but I feel like his stuff has been mostly.
but he's like, "What have you given?
You're in-
What have I given?" And chilling.
Oh,
Fantastic.
dude. Yeah, it's goosebumps.
Okay. All right, I'm looking forward to it. We're gonna keep going out. We're gonna keep plugging away at it for sure.
And then once you stop, You just roll straight into Last of Us. That's
Without a
There you
doubt. The goal is to be done with The Last of Us around the time
finale?
the whole series finishes up,
Okay.
so that we can cover it and whatnot, and we're up to speed. And I still need to finish the game before then. I've played it before, but I want to beat Part 1, the remake, before then is my goal. And I'm in the tail end of Pittsburgh, which is Kansas City in the show, from what I understand. So that's where I am in context relative to where you are in your season of watching. I won't say anything else. I know that one's, well, as you said, every episode it has something that it brings to the table, but there's stuff in that Pittsburgh/Kansas City that always stuck with me from playing the games, at least. So,
that'll stick with you there too. I promise you.
Yep, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Assuming it's the same or similar, at least. Other than that, 2 more episodes of Poker Face I've been watching. We've been watching on Peacock, Anna and I. So we're through 4 episodes now. Great fucking show. Really enjoy it.
I will get on that.
Every episode is kind of like the same kind of setup, where it's like 15-20 minutes of like new characters that you learn about. Then there's the murder or something that happens, and then Natasha Lyonne's character, Charlie Cale, comes into or we see how she has either been there the whole time or how she gets involved in it. She does some digging, something seems weird, something smells funny, and she figures out, like what's going on in this case of the week kind of thing. So
it's a
really
procedural whodunit.
Yeah, definitely. And the big difference is she's not a cop or a detective. She's just some fucking nobody who just shows up and she's a human lie detector is kind of the whole thing. Like she knows when people are lying to her. And so when she talks to someone that actually did the murder and they say something that was a lie, she's like, that's weird. And so it's pretty fun. Each episode has like a fun setting. The first one's like a casino. The second one's like a little repair shop on a little highway kind of thing. Third episode was a barbecue joint in Texas, and then the last episode watched the fourth episode. She's like a merch girl for a metal band. Is what she's doing at that point. I say metal, quote unquote. It could be a metal band called Annihilate. That would be
Annihilate.
I say metal, and it's like maybe rock. It's not really metal. It's whatever. But it's like Ryan Johnson stuff. I think he produced, wrote, directed some chunks of it, and it's really all well shot and very interestingly written. Really enjoying it. So would recommend that on Peacock. We started season 2 of Abbott Elementary. I think we're 3 or 4 in. The last one we watched was the samurai storyteller one.
Yes, so good.
Pure cringe, but it was entertaining. And it's good. It's great. I mean, it's just picking up where it was with season 1. So we watch that when we need something a little lighter.
Yes.
Than Andor or Poker Face, because even though Poker Face is kind of funny, at the end of the day, it's like 20 minutes. You're like, oh, I really like these people. Oh, they're dead. Oh, okay, all right, great. Like that's Poker Face in a nutshell. And The Last of Us, we just know like that's gonna be.
It's a lot.
Get your souls ready.
That's just gonna be rough.
Get ready.
Yeah. So
I
Abbott
literally
is always there to
just
spell us.
Just to put this in perspective, the last Sunday we watched American Idol. I cried during American Idol
because you're just raw. You're just emotionally raw on the
just
inside.
Typical, you know what I mean? I'm watching it. You got these people. They're like, it's tryouts. It's like the first week.
Yeah.
I cry, and then she's like, "Oh, we." And then I was like, "Listen, I didn't watch Last of Us because I didn't want to watch it without you." So it wasn't even on Sunday. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. I watched American Idol. I cried during that, and then man, Last of Us. I fucking cried like the whole episode.
Man.
Oh, it's fucking rough, dude. I can't tell you enough. I'm just not cut out
it's interesting.
for it.
Now that I think about it, and these are some thoughts maybe I could save for the eventual episode on it, But I just have to imagine playing the game is such a different experience than watching the show, because like the show obviously, like, it's not just fucking shootouts, you know, the whole time.
You focus a lot on the drama.
Yeah, I think the show is going to hit on a lot of different things, whereas the game is like really tense because like, oh shit, like I got to kill, you know, or get out of here, and you know, not.
Yeah,
and
right.
I got to conserve my ammo and stuff like that. So I'm really curious to see. I mean, it's a great story, but at the same time, I'm curious to see how they translate everything, and I just feel like it's going to be a different experience, because I think that there are emotional moments in the game, but a lot of it is just the tension from literally just kind of like, you know, your hands clamming up from playing it. And I feel like that's a different almost experience than I imagine the show is giving.
Oh, you will clam up, I promise you.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see then. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
I'm setting that thread up now of what's it like playing the game versus seeing the show, because I'm excited to have that. I mean, you played the first game, obviously, Andrew, but
I didn't finish it, though.
I'm excited to have the recency of hopefully beating the game. Obi just slammed on the door. He wants to get in. He says it's time to wrap it up, fuckers, is what he says, and I shouldn't disagree.
You might
with
be
him,
right.
But anyway, yes, I will get on The Last of Us. We'll talk about it in more detail, game versus show kind of thing, show on its own, whatever. We'll get into it. But that's what I have for now. That's all on my list. So I don't even need to cut things short. I'm just done.
Wow.
I'm just done. So we can wrap it up if you want.
Okay, well, Henrique.
Yes.
Happy
Thanks
birthday,
for
brother,
having me.
man.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
Happy birthday. Thanks for hanging out with us, talking some Ant-Man, a little bit of Wasp, the little bit of Wasp that was in it, and Kang and stuff.
Some Kang.
I'm Kang!
That's my favorite fucking...
Let me wrap this up for you guys. You guys being the listeners, not you two. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. If you're on Patreon, you can support us at patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. You can get early access to all of our regular episodes. You can get time exclusive to some bonus episodes. Nothing on the horizon just yet, but soon. One day soon. I think we'll have something good for you. We'll talk about it. At some point off air, we'll figure something out. Our website's watchreviewrepeat.com. We are on the social media platforms. We're on Twitter at WRRPod. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/watchreviewrepeat. We're on Instagram at watchreviewrepeat is our handle there. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, send those our way. watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Got thoughts on Ant-Man, The Last of Us, whatever. You can send those our way. Happy to talk about that. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. I will also echo Andrew's sentiments. Thank you, Henrique, for hanging out with us again. It's really a pleasure having you on with us, especially to talk about all these Marvel movies. Maybe we'll hear from you before Guardians comes out. We'll see.
Me.
But if not, we'll certainly have you on.
We got
for that.
some stuff lined up. Yeah.
And then what are we doing next? I think maybe Creed 3 is the next on the table. Cocaine Bear does come out this weekend. I'll point out. So I don't know if we're going to cover that. I don't know if that's a theater visit kind of movie. But it is there, so we could do that. But otherwise, Creed 3 is just over a week away. And so that's probably like the next like big one for sure that we'll cover.
It kind of gives me time to watch Creed 1 and Creed 2.
Yeah, you could do that.
And Sarah could watch that too. They're pretty
that's
they're
true.
Just really good movies.
You don't need Rocky 1 through 6, quite honestly.
No.
I mean, it's helpful, it's good context, but you don't totally...
Rocky's literally not in this film. As his
That's
brother.
true.
As his,
Yeah, well,
as his
brother was pretty
Sly's
pissed.
brother.
Frank Sloan says, fuck you.
He said this is going to be the worst movie of all time. It's going to bomb.
It's gonna bomb. It's gonna be big, huge bomb. So we'll see if Frank's prediction comes to pass. Maybe next time we record, see if that opening weekend means that Frank is smiling through his teeth, as he lives his life. So we'll see. So yeah, maybe Creed 3, maybe Cocaine Bear, but probably Creed 3 is sounds like what's happening to me. So I guess that's it. Andrew, why don't you take us all out?
Hey. Thanks for showing up, everybody, and take care now. Bye-bye then.
Laters on the Menche.